Hello, and welcome to episode 211 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the marquee, Alessandro Biolsi. Say hello, Al.
I love you, but you're an unserious person.
On this week's episode, a game you've never heard of, Dune Part 2, Righteous Gemstones Season 3 trailer, and the Writer's Strike. All before diving into our flick of the week, John Wick, Chapter 4. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking a fresh beer because we just got it mutually.
Fresh to Jeff!
We just got it mutually this weekend for Anthony's birthday.
Everyone's mutually acquired beers.
Yes. Say hello, say happy birthday to Anthony. It was his birthday the other day.
Thanks, friends.
We went to Source Brewing, which is
we did.
Not terribly far from where you live. And we bought a assortment of beers on the way back to your house, and I grabbed like 4 that I hadn't tried, and that was why those are the only 4 that I had, and why you had a couple of beers in your fridge still that I don't have with me.
Nice.
So this is Coat of Arms. It's a Franconian style rot beer lager. It's 5.6% alcohol by volume. It came in a pint, which is delightful. Drink from the source. It says it over and over again. It's canned fresh from the source in Colts Neck, New Jersey. And
you see, their logo is a hop that's growing in a field on a tree, but the tree is a beer glass.
Oh.
I really like that. I'm going to give them a plus stuckle on the can art, minus stuckle on the can design, because I have not successfully opened a single one of these cans.
Oh, so this one actually opened. Yeah, sorry.
Nice.
We had a bit of an issue on the Saturday night after we left the brewery and we're drinking the beers we brought home at Anthony's house. And probably 80% of the cans that were opened while we were there required, when you went to pull the tab and it punches the perforated like spout, it would break the seal, but it wouldn't actually punch the thing all the way down, and so you have to follow up gently with a tool or your hand. And so I think I was like sticking my fingers in everyone's beers at your house because no one was brave enough to
with a little thumb.
Yeah, no one was brave enough to punch the thing open, which, to be fair, if you do it wrong, you will cut yourself. But
yeah,
thankfully I avoided injuring myself.
I've been punching it with my thumb myself, but at the same time, like every time I do it, I was like, this could potentially make work really difficult for a little while.
It's definitely a delicate process.
It's not the best.
I will say the zigzag pattern on the can is pleasing. But for a beer called Coat of Arms, I was expecting a coat of arms, and I don't think their logo suffices. I wish they had done more heraldry around the logo and
that's fair.
That would have been cool.
That's fair. I mean, where they did nail it is the font for Coat of Arms.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it would come from medieval times. I mean, the actual times, not the restaurant. The ingredients are aquifer water, malt, yeast, and hops. Simple and straightforward. Other than that, I don't have much to say.
Drink from the source. Brewed from the source. Canned fresh from the source. This feels very culty.
Yes. But I will say I don't know what a Franconian style rock beer lager is.
Oh, really? Because I was going to ask you what the hell that means.
No, that's a very niche thing. So I guess it must be inspired by some sort of like Gallic or Gothic beer of medieval times, and the times when like French
go to medieval times.
When like the French would conquer the Germans or the Germans would conquer the French and vice versa. The intermixing of all those styles, I'm guessing. I mean, rock beer is going to be some sort of Germanic style lager, but Franconian, the French, to the best of my knowledge, are not super well known for their beer any longer. Much more so wine and brandy and champagne and all those fun things.
Well, funny that you say that, because if you take a big old whiff of this sucker, you can definitely feel like I feel like there's like a fruitiness in the malt scent, which is nice.
Yes.
It doesn't have that like overly like molassesy sugar scent. It has more of like a lighter, fruitier scent, I feel like.
It's funny. It's rather pleasing color. It's
Yeah, it looks really nice.
on the darker, like kind of a brown ale style, but it's very crystal clear from the
Hmm.
lagering process, which is kind of nice. Usually, you don't see beers quite colored like this outside of maybe a
Yeah,
Marzen.
it based on just the aroma and the look, I would say while I have no idea what a Franconian style rot beer lager is, I feel like they do. Shall we give this one a taste?
Yes, please.
Cheers, bud. All right,
Very Franconian.
it's you can really taste the Frank.
You can really taste the Frank.
This is nice. This is very. I don't know how to describe this. It has so like you know how I feel about overly malt forward beers. I'm not a huge fan of them. I feel like this has all of the nice parts that I do like there, but none of the thickness or the overly
The
syrupy
tasteful
sweetness
thickness.
of it. And I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
I like it a lot.
it's definitely mull forward, but it's crisp. It doesn't have
Yeah.
that weighty feeling of what a comparable type of malty ale might have.
Mm. Very nice. I'm gonna go
Well attenuated. There's a nice beer term for you.
Yeah. All right. I don't know what I'm thinking. Two thuckles, maybe three. Where are you at?
I would say from my just personal enjoyment of it, I would say probably in the 1 to 2 thuckle range, but
Mhm.
its execution of the form is strong to quite strong, like
Yeah.
on like the order of like a 3, I would say.
Sure.
So I'm gonna settle at 2.
Yeah. Two sounds nice.
Yeah.
I'm at two. Well done, Source. I will say with them, I've been there a number of times. When we originally went, the first time that we went, they had like maybe 4 beers, 5 beers. It was a while. It was a while ago, and they were all a little samey, and they were all fine.
Hmm.
Ever since then, like I've returned maybe like like I feel like every year since then, it's gotten dramatically better. Like their choices have gotten stronger, the quality has gotten stronger, and on top of that, the brewery itself changes every time I go there. Like there's like a little bit of an addition here, and there's more space over here, and like it just becomes a more and more comfortable place to go and relax and have a few beers. And I really really like the space.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense for a place that's getting on its feet. Usually you don't have a ton of offerings because you have to figure out, like, okay, you go from I know how to make beer, I know how to make
Yep.
beer well, but to brew it at scale and to
Mm.
replicate the batch with great reliability and can it or bottle it or keg it and continue to sell to a higher volume of people requires both skill and patience and just flat out repetitions. So
Hmm.
the progression you're describing is great, actually. It sounds
Yeah.
exactly how it should be, where let's do a couple of things, let's try and really make them repeatable before we start branching out. And then we can have a one off because we want to, or we can have a one off because we experimented and it didn't work out well, or whatever. Um, and the space is really cool. It seemed like a chill place. It was packed, so obviously it's popular. They definitely need to expand their parking lot next, as far as
Yeah.
expansions go, because that was a little hectic trying to get in and out of there. But
Yeah, it was a little bonkers. It doesn't help that there's a distillery. Distillery? Nope.
no,
It doesn't help that there's a distillery in the same parking lot.
yeah,
But it does help when you want to go have some real nice cocktails because my oh my, are the cocktails of that place fantastic. We'll hit that up once when it's a much smaller group and sends children because they don't allow kids in that one.
probably for the best.
Yeah. But very family friendly place, the brewery, and I really appreciate that. Like everybody seems to get it. It's like let's just be cool. Let's let the kids run around on the grass. It's great, and they have an upstairs
of
that
which
is
there were many.
adults only.
There were many children.
Yeah,
Some of them in tow with our party,
That's
and some of
right.
them not.
Yeah, we were rolling 2 tables deep at one point. It was good. It was a good turnout.
Very well attended.
Yeah. You like to say well attend and then finish that.
2 iterations does not a trend make.
All right. Do you keep hearing a bloop sound? Skype is making a bloop sound.
I'm not hearing a bloop.
And while I keep hearing it, there's no actual like notification or anything.
I've heard no such bloops. I'm bloopless.
All right. Well, as long as you don't hear them, that's probably for the best. Let's
Do
get
you
into
hear
some
how-
news and nuggets.
Oh, I'll say before that, I'm going to preempt you. Do you hear how beautiful and crisp and clean that I am? And are you noticing like a higher quality of video and all that?
I am not noticing a higher quality of video because Skype is still garbage.
Sure. But
your sound is the same to me.
Okay, because I'm noticing a much cleaner recording for us, and it's because I decided to buck the trend of my life for quite some time. And I was a bully this past week.
You were a bully?
Oh yeah, I bullied 2 mega communications corporations.
Oh, nice! I love
which
that.
is to say that
I'm all about that.
I finally got what I was paying for, or maybe more accurately what my dad's paying for. But regardless, as the executor of his will, and I don't mean last will and testament, but the will of what our services are in the house, pursuant to conversations on and off air we've had about my role as kind of the keeper of the keys in regards to all technological things. My internet,
keeper of keys and game at Hogwarts.
Exactly. I've been called Rubius Hagrid before. So like a week and a half ago, I was trying to stream a movie. I don't remember what we were watching. We were going to watch the Batman Sunday
Nice.
afternoon. It was raining, nothing to do, so went to put it on.
Oh, I thought you were just describing the movie.
No, sure. It's that too. It was not really working well. It kept buffering like every 12 seconds.
Yeah, that's a no-go.
Okay, so I speed tested, and I was pushing like 15 megabits down.
Wow.
And pretty sure I paid for 100. Although I never see it clock above like 75.
Oh my god.
Usually in the 65 to 75 range. So I reset the router, which is, it's an all-in-one router modem, whatever, which is pretty new. It's probably only about a year old, maybe something like that. I reset it, speed test it, and now I'm pushing like 5. And I was like, okay, so we're back.
So much worse.
Yeah, it was like we're
Can
back.
You call me a trash panda? Is that worse? So much worse.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so we're back to the DSL days. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I got online, started chatting with the Spectrum people, all that, and I was like, what's going on? Is there an outage? Whatever. No, well, everything's fine. Everything's fine. How are you over there? And I was like,
not good.
Not great, Bob. So I was like, okay, can we figure out? He's like, oh yeah, sure. Let me just reset it from my side. I said, great.
The classic reset from my side.
No, let's start there. That's fine.
Yeah, of course.
So we do that. Okay, it's back to running 60-ish. I was like, okay, that's usually what I expect. And they're like, is there anything else you can help you with? I was like, well, I would like to know
for more
why it's never close. Like, I understand there's going to be days where it runs low, but like, it's never really at 100. I said, when we bought it from you guys several years ago, you sold us like, it's like 30 or 40 megs and said within a year, you were rolling out to the bare minimum was going to be 100 across the board. And you said no increase in price. You'll just be grandfathered right in. Great. And I noticed, whatever it was, 30 or 40, eventually started clocking 70 or so. It's like, okay, it more than doubled what we were getting. Great, fine, whatever. Why do we never get close to 100? And they're like, oh, let me check on that for you.
Of course.
So it turns out you're on a legacy plan. It wasn't supposed to be 100, it was supposed to be 60. But now our base plan is 300. I was like, they're like, do you want us to switch that for you? I was like, yeah. Is that even a question? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, oh yeah, let me do that for you. I was like, yeah, do it. What are we talking about? Do it.
Oh my god.
And they're like,
oh, they did it.
And they're like, yeah, we realize that you want to get what you pay for. It's like, yeah, do it.
Yeah, I would also like to retroactively either get some sort of deal for all this time that I've not been getting the thing that I'm supposed to be getting.
So anyway, now I sometimes have 250, 300 megabits or whatever. Sometimes it's still also only like 70.
You're going to start wrecking people in Halo.
Yeah. But anyway, there's been like zero lag. It's been great on my end. I guess maybe it can change anything for you on your end. So then I followed that up by yelling at DirecTV for 45 minutes on the phone. Mm-hmm. And they're going to come and give us a whole upgraded stuff on Friday. For no additional charge. So it's been a good week. I don't like yelling at the people. It was easier with the Spectrum guy because I'm just messaging with them.
Sure.
And then I wasn't yelling at the DirecTV guy, but I was just like, so because we've been having an issue with one of our boxes, and I've just been resetting it because I don't want to deal with the whole hassle of getting it all fixed. Because I know it always ends up with a 45-minute conversation, and then I have to juggle who's going to be here to. Because it's not going to be me. I'm not taking off work to deal with this. I was like, I'll do all the other bullshit. Someone's got to be here to let the guy in do the thing. So we finally just ripped the Band-Aid off, did it, and we're like, oh, have you tried? Yeah, I was like, we've tried resetting it. You can reset it, whatever. Don't care. Do what you got to do so you can check those boxes, tell your boss you did it. But this story ends with you replacing the box, okay?
Yep.
He's like, oh, well, we have to. I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. We're going to do all this. We're going to do it right now. And then you're going to send a guy out sometime later this week, and we're going to get a new box.
Yes.
It was like, he's like, okay, is there anything else I can help you with? I was like, yeah. Now that you mention it, we've been customers for 15 years. We haven't had an upgrade of any way, shape, or form in probably a good 5 years. So we're going to do that, and we're not going to pay any more money for
it. I'm going to need that extended warranty for the price of on the house.
Yes. The guy's like, oh, let me check on that. I was like, you take as long as you need. This story ends with a guy coming in, swapping out all the boxes, and not a single dollar being charged more. That's how this story ends. I don't care if it takes you 20 minutes. I got nowhere to go, man.
I love this. So I've gotten pretty good at finagling them into giving me what they will give a new customer, because that's bullshit, right? That a customer of long standing can't get as good a deal as somebody that's never had them before. Anyway, my usual move is to call, get in touch, get on the line eventually with a representative, and then I'll just be like, can you send me to retention? And
he's like, shit, they know the words.
They go, I'm sorry, like, is there something that I can help you with? I was like,
yeah, you can put me with retention.
Can you send me to retention? Otherwise I'll be canceling my service. And then they send you to retention.
Well,
and that's where you get the good deals.
I had an easy trump card here, because he's like, oh, we can see what we can do. I was like, well, listen, you guys, listen, you can look on the plan. You see that we've had you for like 15 or 16 years. And we've had NFL Sunday Ticket for the last 3 years. And YouTube TV has that now. And let's just say I'm motivated to continue to have Sunday Ticket. And so YouTube sounds pretty good right now. He goes, okay, hang on 1 second. And I was like, there we go. I think those are the magic words.
Nice. You nailed it. Oh my gosh. It's so ridiculous. It's such a game. It's annoying because like all it really takes is just like, you need a good hour to be able to dedicate to sitting down and doing the chat or calling and getting through all of this rigmarole and being patient enough to actually see it through.
Yeah. That's what I said to my dad. Was he's like, I'm tired of dealing with this hassle. He goes, I'm going to call them. I was like, that's fine. I'll be home in 15 minutes. You start the process, and I'll take the baton. I'll carry it, because I was like,
I'll close.
the thing is, I just don't want to go through the hour conversation and then have to coordinate with him with what he's willing to do X, Y, and Z. Because the trade off is like, well, we're gonna extend your contract 2 years. Yeah, go ahead. I don't care. Like, yeah, sure. If we're going through all this rigmarole, I'm not going to drop your service 6 months from now. It doesn't make any sense for me to go through all that.
So with all of these things, my new, like, I have like some standard practices, like whether it's a phone service or internet service or whatever. And I always walk away with a cancel at any time contract at the price of if I had a lock-in. That's my plan going in, and that's generally how I am able to manage it by the end. Yeah. It's just like those things are BS. Like those like lock-ins. It's like, no, like why would I want to do that? What is the benefit to me locking in with you for 3 years? Because you know somebody's going to come along with a better price? No. So what we're going to do is you're going to allow me a month-to-month contract, and I'm going to change it any time if I see fit. And if a price comes along that's better from another company and you can't match it, I will see fit. and that's all. Like, so this happened recently so we have, we're on a family plan. So, and I think for T-Mobile.
Okay.
And my mom is the account holder because at the time, she got a discount for working within a school in New York City. There was something there.
Yeah.
So we got a discounted rate. At the end of the day, it's not that bad. The pricing is pretty good. There's 5 lines on this family plan. Nobody, like the only people, my mom and dad live together somewhere. Me and Kim live together, and Carly is out in Yonkers, but we're all in the same family plan. It's fine. And it goes, everybody has unlimited everything.
Yeah.
If you stay under 2 gigs of data, it's $25 a month. If you go over 2 gigs of data, it's $35 a month, which is fine. It's really not that bad. And they've been increasing our speed and whatnot, like at each step of their infrastructure, which has been good too. And it's great. Lots of great perks. Like we get MLB TV free every year. We get MLS now free every year, which is pretty cool. There's like all these perks, and it's awesome. But like Verizon started sniffing around again, and I was like, well, they send you an email, and you're like, but it looks too good to be true. So like, let me go through this whole thing. I talked through it, and at the end of the day, their service is better.
It is,
and T-Mobile's has gotten significantly better over the years, but at the end of the day, Verizon's service is better, and I won't argue that point. Like that's true.
Yep.
As a company, they are far worse. But their service is better.
The service is better.
I used to work.
I think
Oh,
I forgot about that. Yeah. The service is better, and I think the perks are probably pretty much better too, because I get the full Disney bundle incorporated with it, which has probably even greater utility than the MLB or MLS package. I mean, like if you're a huge MLS fan,
for sure,
whatever. Like,
no, you're absolutely right. I currently get that by having FiOS though. So I kind of get a mix of both. But they were like, we'll give you, if you bring your own phones and you bring 5 lines, it'll be $20 a line. And I'm like, now you're speaking my language. I was like, what's the overage? What's the limit on like the premium data? Because they have all sorts of things in play to throttle the hell out of you. And all in all, it seemed pretty good. And I was like, but now I have to play this game of like, the account is currently in my mom's. If it was just in my name, I would be able to seamlessly migrate us to another service and nobody would know the difference. I'd be like, hey, hit the OK prompt when it shows up on your phone. And they'd be like, okay. And then the phone would just work and it would all be over. And I would have, but it's currently in her name, and getting her to try to do it. I'd be like, so I've taken a step back. The first step is going to be going to T-Mobile and transitioning ownership of the account to me so that I can manage it, because it would just be better.
That's the one thing that's driving. Maybe that's what I got to do. That's the one thing that drives me nuts because I run all of the Verizon stuff. Because all of us, we have the same thing. The 4 of us. My dad's phone is paid for entirely by the company. But the 4 of us have, like my mom, my sister, my brother, me, all have account together. Technically, my mom is the one because she was the first one of us ever to have a cell phone. So but she just handed me the keys to everything. She said
Mhm.
it's her email, but I'm authorized to do all the stuff on the account except for like just unilaterally change something like that.
Yeah.
But like I have all the login information. I can't tell you how many times I've reset the password and reset the secret questions and all that.
Mhm.
No matter what I do, every time I log in to pay the bills, it wants me to prove I'm me again, despite the fact that I have all of the login information.
Yeah.
So anytime I have to go pay the bill, I have to be like, "Mom, give me your phone," because I gotta.
Yeah.
It's gotta send her a text to prove it's. It doesn't matter what device I log in from. If I do, from her phone, from my phone, from the computer, no matter where I do it from, it always wants me to prove I'm me, and I'm like, "But I am me. I've proven it so many times."
I am me.
Also, I am trying to give you money. Why are you making
Right.
it hard for me to give
It's such a pain
you
in the butt.
money? I just want to pay you.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah, I can't even. I actually, I have to take over it. The other part of it too is like the auto pay. Most of these companies have it set up that if you have auto pay, you get a significant discount on your bill.
Yeah.
But my mom is not into that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but it's all of our bills and we share it, and I would like to get the discount.
Well, part of the problem is, you have the 5 different lines.
Yeah.
Because, like, for us, all the lines, the rate is a little different. Because, yeah, like, the standard line fee is the same, but who's got a new phone that they're paying off and who doesn't?
Sure.
So that's one
ours
of the
is ours is much simpler in that we just have if you go over 2 gigs or under 2 gigs, everybody on our plan owns their phone or has it through a different different financing. So it's not through the phone bill. So it's a much simpler phone bill, and we just Zelle our portion of it to my mom when the bill comes.
Well,
which is nice and easy.
The easy part for me is like I put Dominic's credit card and my credit card and Gianna's credit card on there. So I just click pay X amount with Dominic's card, pay Y amount with my card,
Cool.
pay Z amount. So like that part's fine, but it's just not automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an unlimited plan. Like the price doesn't change no matter how much data we use. I'm sure they probably throttle us for speed at some point, but like the price doesn't change.
Yeah. What's like the monthly number for the whole thing?
Of what?
Cost.
I don't know because of all the different lines and all that shit. Because like,
yeah, but don't you have a general idea of like what the whole bill comes out to? Because you split it up after the fact.
I don't ever look at the top number because my dad pays. My dad auto pays. He just picked a number. Basically, it's like in excess of what my mom's fee is.
Sure.
And so that just hits, and then I pay for me, Dominic, and Gianna's from our separate accounts. So I never look at the top line number.
I see.
So I honestly don't know. I could probably figure it out, but I don't know.
Yeah. That's another. That's definitely something I would like to do. Is I would like to switch again. However, we've been looking for a house. 0 for 6, by the way.
Nice. Were you at that one? Because there was someone someone I follow he was a Jets writer for a while. Now he does TV for SNY for Jets and Giants. He lives in the general vicinity of where you live.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to an open house on Sunday, and I know you said you're going to one as well. And he sent a picture. He was on a line out the door for an open house. And I figured there was I was like, I knew you guys were going to like 3 that day. And I was like, there is a like non-trivial chance that Anthony's at the same open house.
Yeah, we did go to a bunch. Everyone that we got at like the perfect time where there was nobody there pretty much.
This is literally like a line. Like it looked like there was easily 100 people on this line.
Oh my god!
Like not 100.
It's a joke.
Like some of them were in couples, but like the point is, it was 100 total people. So
yeah, no, the whole thing is an absolute mess right now. We walked out on one, which was good. I walked in. The real estate agent that was managing the open house was an absolute garbage person, and was like very pushy, very aggressive, and was like repeating herself like over and over again about different facts. Like basically it came up to this. It was like, come in, put the booties on, and they were immediately trying to justify the list price with all the things they were saying. I'm like, okay.
So negging is bad enough in dating, but when it's used in sales?
Yeah, so I went and I signed in.
think it should be grounds to assault someone.
well, I wish. I went and we signed in, and she was like, she kept going and like restarting and like was grabbing other people and explaining it to them. And we were like, okay, we understand. We're gonna go take a look now, if that's all right. And she was like, actually, no, it's not okay. I have to guide through the tour. I was like, that's not what an open house is.
It's true.
And I was like,
Fundamentally
okay.
not what an open house is.
And I was like, never mind then. And I started walking out, and Kim was like, oh, I guess we're not doing this one. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not even remotely equipped to deal with this right now. I was like, this is an absolute disaster.
It's already been stressful enough. Like, you guys have been through the ringer on this stuff for the past year, so I don't blame you for. And like the chances, like, what are the chances that's going to end up being the one? Like, after all,
I already like
hassle.
immediately had a bad taste in my mouth walking in the door. Like, I'm not gonna. The way that I saw it was like, even if I loved this house, I wouldn't do it, specifically because we would have to deal with like our communicating with this one who clearly is a mess, and like that's just going to create problems. And I don't even. We've had
you've already been jerked around enough on that stuff.
So screw that. Anyway, like I said, 0 for 6. I think I told you we've gone 30 over. We've gone 40 over. Asking nothing. Nada. Zip.
Yeah.
Outbid. It's crazy. It's wild. We almost put an offer in on another one. Massive property. Huge home. It was a 5-bedroom ranch extended. There was like another basically like size of a building that was the family room. It was massive.
Oh yeah,
you're
telling me and Diana, I think on Sunday or Saturday, whatever day it was. Yeah.
But there's a train that goes behind it.
Yeah, the military train. That's what it was.
Military train that it doesn't run that often, but when it does run, it's carrying nuclear weapons.
Allegedly. It's carrying some sort of ordnance. We don't know for a fact whether they're nuclear.
So I have it on good authority that they are in fact nuclear ordnance. And I was like, that's even the possibility of it. I was like, it's just, why introduce the risk?
Well, I gotta be honest.
Granted, we're close enough right now where it would hurt us anyway.
Say, if it's nuclear ordnance, where you're living now would
but
be
I'm
just
more so like, I don't want to be near any sort of potential heist. Like, I just, it would be in my backyard. I don't want to deal with that.
That's fair.
Anyway, the house hunt continues.
So news.
Only 44 minutes in. We got this. Al, let me tell you something about this game.
Okay.
That I'm pretty sure you've never heard of.
Okay.
It's called Vampire Survivors.
I've truly never heard of I've never heard of vampires, let alone those who survived them.
The other day, this is obviously a long-running joke on the show that I love the game. It's so much fun. Brian hates it. Other members of the Spintoon, and it's fun to. I don't get it. I just don't get why he hates it so much. It is a fantastic game. Anyway,
I honestly don't understand why he likes or dislikes anything.
That's fair.
I can never predict what he's going to like or dislike.
That's a consistent experience that I've had with Brian the entire time I've known him.
Which is the better part of my life. Significantly longer than me. But at this time, I've had the opportunity to talk to him about a lot of shows, movies, books, games.
Yeah.
And as soon as I feel like I've got an idea as to what he likes and dislikes, the next thing I'm like, I'm sure he'll love this. And he's like, hate it. And I'm like, what?
It's great. It is what makes it worth reading his reviews. That being said, Vampire Survivors has an animated television series in the works.
Oh.
Which is pretty exciting.
Interesting.
And I'd like to read from the official description, if you don't mind. The game is set in 2021 in rural Italy. There lived an evil person named Visconte Draculo, whose many evil magics created a bad world.
Hang on a second.
Yes, I said magics like maths.
No, that's fine. What I'm asking is that magic spelled with a CK?
It's not.
Then it's not allowed. Can't be magics unless it's got a K in there.
Whose many evil magics created a bad world filled with famine and suffering. It's now up to the members of the Belpiese family to end this. I'm guessing that's how they want to say it. To end his reign of terror and return good food to the table. What?
Was that written by an Italian AI program?
Okay, that's exactly where my head went. I was like, okay, this was written in another language and then poorly translated. But I love every second of it, and I can't wait to watch this.
I was trying to. This whole time I've been trying to, and I realized I can't. I don't know enough words in Italian. I was trying to come up with like the Italian equivalent of what ChatGPT would be. You would have a better shot than me. I know you took Italian in high school.
I got nothing. Oh man. Anyway, Vampire Survivors, a game you've never heard of, now a television series you've never heard of, which I will probably
I'm morbidly curious.
Yeah. So Dune Part 2 trailer dropped a week ago.
Sure did.
How did you feel about that?
It's pretty exciting.
It looks fun.
Yes.
I was watching it and I was like, man, I gotta watch the first one again.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
I definitely want to watch it again before the movie comes out. I know I must have told you when it happened, but it was just several months ago. I watched it again for the first time, like basically a year after seeing it for the first time. Still really liked it. I still, the couple of little things I wish they could have changed or tweaked or whatever. It's like I for the most part, I get it why they did what they did, but as much as I liked it and think that they did some things really well, it still felt like a slight missed opportunity. Some of the things that they cut, I understand. It is kind of crazy that movie's about the same length as the original, and still feels slightly rushed at times. What they chose to spend time on in this case, and some of the things they chose to spend the time on is pretty great, but it felt like it was at the cost of other things that I would have liked to see, even if I understand certain things that were cut, like why I think they made sense. Other things I would have preferred they kept or elaborated on a bit, but
sure.
I still really enjoyed it, and I'm super excited for the second one. So
cool. Yeah, I'm pumped. It looks great. I mean, the first one was visually stunning. This one obviously follows in its footsteps. I don't know what is really going on in the trailer with the back and forth between color and black and white, but I think it looks awesome.
Well, the black and white section was that the fight scene with Fade Ratha? Was that what it was? I forget.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's meant to be a specific sequence in the book. That character, much like in this, was not seriously dealt with until like halfway through. Is introduced very briefly early on, but it's basically just kind of there to be exposited towards, which is fine. But I think the introduction to him in present day, because that was, quote unquote earlier. There's obviously a time jump within this one. I think that's to help fill the gap, and it's kind of a cool stylistic choice. It makes sense for.
Gotcha.
Basically, he's like, he's going to be introduced as like a gladiatorial hero, but like cool. By choice.
Yeah, I imagined that it was going to be some sort of storytelling mechanic, like to separate it from the actual current timeline. But that being said, it looks great. Remind me, is this supposed to finish the first book?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just a two-parter.
Yes.
And are there already plans for more or no?
I mean, obviously, the pandemic was like happened astride all of the making of this and the production of all of these. The initial plan was to do the first book across two movies and then a third movie that would encapsulate all of the second book.
Okay.
And then we'll see from there.
Gotcha.
I have heard talk that is still on the table, but I don't think they're going to do anything definitive until this one is out and everyone has had a chance to take a breath.
Gotcha.
But also during the course of that time, they greenlit at least one television show that's supposed to, I think, detail some of the history of the Bene Gesserit.
Interesting.
So, which is kind of a cool idea considering they're kind of a shadowy and super important organization within all of this.
Right.
But there is a pretty good, well-defined arc across those two books that would make for a solid trilogy of movies. So, like, I understand why that was the initial plan, but I don't think Denis Villeneuve wanted to commit to anything more than that. I think he would probably be interested in continuing to do stuff after that, but I don't think he wants to commit to it, considering this is already going to be a chunk of like 5 or 6 years.
Sure. Cool. And was there a date on it? I don't remember.
I think it's October of this year again.
Oh, snap. Okay.
I think.
I would like to see this one in theaters.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot you weren't able to see the first one.
That was an HBO Max joint for me.
Yeah, I got to see that in IMAX, Palisades.
Nice.
That was a
jelly.
fun
That
experience.
probably was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
I will say, on that note, actually, no, okay, I'll forget about later. I did see a movie in theaters. I'll get into what the movie was later when we do consumption. But the quality of the actual viewing experience, like, I love sitting in the movie theater. I love the giant screen. I love the sound system. It's all amazing. The picture quality is better at home.
Yeah.
And it's like, because the television technology has advanced so much, like an insane amount, that like it's almost like, oh man, like that's kind of a bummer. Like a home theater is actually the idea, like an actual like darkened home theater, well, like with a good sound setup and like a comfy seat, like is probably the ideal viewing experience for a blockbuster.
It's because most movie theaters haven't actually made the jump right to having 4K projectors yet.
Yeah, I guess I just don't even know. I'm not sure if I've actually witnessed one or like a high end or how that actually looks, but I just in general like the brightness ratios, the contrast, the HDR of an actual OLED panel, which is what I have in my basement.
Yeah.
Is amazing. Like it's unbeatable right now. And I'd be really curious to see like what the highest of end projectors can actually do.
Yeah, I haven't seen like the most recent like few years where they're at, but I'm sure it would blow me away if I actually got to. So
yeah. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. Moving on, Righteous Gemstones Season 3.
Yeah, so they dropped a trailer today, which actually I don't think I didn't have the audio on, but it had the subtitles. I watched the trailer a little while ago, and it's ridiculous as always. I forgot
Sure.
You haven't watched any yet, or did you watch part of the first season? I forget.
I watched a few episodes of the first season.
Okay. Yeah, it's a truly ridiculous show. It's the classic McBride style of being super uncomfortable almost at all times.
Sure.
By design, but it makes for great laughs and also great cringe. They just keep making more ridiculous shit. I mean, and this season it looks like they're adding. I want to say Steve. I saw Steve Zahn as a major player in this trailer, and I think Shea Wiggum as well playing a. I think that was Shea Wiggum playing an ancient NASCAR driver. Like he's not that old, and they made him look like he was like 70 years old in this.
Awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy that show, despite the fact that sometimes I need a moment between episodes because it's just like makes me so uncomfortable in the same way that like early Always Sunny did to me, or like Curb Your Enthusiasm does to me. Both shows that I adore, but like sometimes you just need a little break because it begins to prevail upon your existential crises that you may or may not feel while watching them.
Man.
But yeah, no, I'm excited for that. It's
nice.
It's such a unique show. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad there's another season coming for you.
Yeah.
Tell me about this writer's strike.
So there's a writer's strike going on. I don't know if you heard about this.
Yeah. How many days in are we?
It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I don't have a specific news nugget. I just figured we'd just kind of chat about it, especially considering the terms that they're kind of under right now with this, because technically shows that are already shooting, a lot of them are continuing to shoot. Well, at least whatever material has been written.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the current Maginot line, if you will, of this war is There are sometimes loosely defined rules as to what writing is. And typically, most shows have a writer on set.
Mm-hmm.
And so they may or may not be able to do certain things because I was hearing a little bit about it today. So obviously I listen to the Levitard show every day, and they've cultivated relationships with a bunch of movie and television writers and directors. Adam McKay, Bill Lawrence, Mike Schur, David Simon. So Schur periodically is on every day. Sometimes he's not on for a week or so, but sometimes he comes on for like 5 minutes. Sometimes he's on for a while. But he came on a couple weeks ago, right before the strike happened, and then right as it was starting, and gave a lot of the broad strokes of what the strike is all about and how it's the same and different from the last time. So
Okay.
I remember very well what happened. I remember some of what happened as a result of it well, some of it not so well. Actually, Alan, my close personal friend Alan Sippenwell wrote a good story about what the experience was like during it and what certain shows. I haven't gotten through the whole article yet just because it's like a long form one and I want to really sit down and sink my teeth into it.
Yeah.
But the gist of what happened the last time around is the last big fight that they were fighting over was how streaming and residuals of online access to shows was going to be handled.
Okay.
And now I'm hearing this from the side of someone who is in the Writers Guild, so there is a bias there, which isn't to say that he's representing it incorrectly. And by and large, the way it's being presented is pretty cut and dry. I'm more or less in support of the writers on this. Basically, it sounds like the pitch from the studios was, well, we don't know what this whole internet thing is about, and we don't know how much money is in this. And the writer said, okay, so then it shouldn't be that big a deal for you to cut us into whatever little money you're going to make. And they didn't want to because they were trying to pull a fast one, is what's implied there. And sure enough, when they finally brokered the deal, the writers got a piece of all of that. And of course, look at how much is on streaming. We're talking about the possible death of broadcast television. So clearly, that was in the right. So this time, the biggest action item is the use of AI in future scripts. I don't believe it's actively being used in any way, shape, or form, at least not anything that's major. But we know that's probably going to change.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they want to dictate the terms of, or not dictate the terms. They want to come to terms over what that means, how people get paid, is that eliminating jobs, all that sort of stuff. Totally valid things to be collectively bargaining over, right? Whatever the result is, it's not something that can just be done unilaterally by these studios.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of that, and also the fact that, anytime, especially when we talk about collectively bargained industries, it's always an argument of, well, we're not making any money. I'm pretty sure that the last couple of years have been record profits, not record revenues, right? Record profits for the studios at large. I'm not saying that some studios might not have lost money, but the industry has profited at record rates.
Mm-hmm.
The Writers Guild has been very clear on the fact that they are like haggling over 2% of profits, not revenues, profits. That essentially the current distribution is like 98% to the studios and 2% to the writers. Now, obviously, of that 98%, portions of that are going to directors and actors and all that stuff. It's not to say that they're raking in 98%, but the point is that 98% is also being divided by, again, percentage points to the other parties involved. Now, this strike is only about the writers. It has nothing to do with the actors, directors, cinematographers, all those fun things. Now, obviously, some of these people wear hats. There are actors who are also in the Writers Guild. There are directors who are in the Writers Guild. Vice versa. Like, there's all sorts of overlap here. So today, David Simon was on Levitard show, and he was talking about he's had a deal at HBO for like 25 years. He's the creator of The Wire. He was the creator of that show that came out, was it last year or the year before, We Own This City, which is also about cops in Baltimore. There's a theme. He was a newspaperman in Baltimore for a long time. So that's a subject obviously is near and dear to his heart, but he's been involved in other projects as well. So
Sure.
what I had been hearing lately was that showrunners, while they are currently on strike and not allowed to write, are being instructed by the studios to continue to do the other facets of their job that aren't writing, which is putting them in the crossfire between the two sides, because
Sure.
if you are the executive producer of a show, there are a lot of things that aren't writing that are within your job description. So they have to talk to the union, tell them, hey, listen, these are my responsibilities, X, Y, Z, that aren't writing. I got to do these things. Let me know if there's any potential pitfalls in these things that I have to do that are going to come up against what we are not doing, which is writing.
Right.
Vice versa, going to the studios and saying, okay, these are the things I'm allowed to do. Is that going to maintain compliance with what you expect me to do? You know what I mean? Because, and the way David Simon was describing it today was, okay, you're a showrunner. You've written a script. You've rewritten the script. You finalize the script. You're going to shoot it. When you're shooting it, if there is a line that an actor is having trouble with, let's consider Empire Strikes Back. There's a legendary stories about Harrison Ford and George Lucas rewriting on the fly the line when Leia says, I love you. Han says, I know. Originally, he says, I love you too. They fought over that line. They've tried a million different versions of it and other lines, and finally Harrison Ford settled on, I know. And that was what became authentic, and that's in the final cut. It's an iconic scene. It's an iconic line among Star Wars fandom.
Yep.
That's writing. You're not allowed to do that if you're shooting a scene under a strike. So you can understand how tenuous
complications have arisen.
Exactly. So, you hear the kind of the conversation around it framed as, okay, they're not writing anything anymore. No one's writing. But we no longer have the reliance on network shows, which often have only shot a couple of episodes in advance of what's airing. You're still writing and producing and ultimately shooting stuff that is going to happen later in the season. With so many of these scripted shows being only like 8 or 10 or 12 episodes long, most, if not all, of the episodes have been shot, and maybe you're just in post-production, like VFX and all that stuff, after the season started airing. So we have much more in the hopper now than we did at that time when the strike started. So this may be a more prolonged strike than it was last time. But some of these shows that are in production already that have gotten past the quote-unquote writing thing may or may not be able to finish shooting because of this fraught relationship between what writing is and isn't while we're working on set. Yeah, so it's that's kind of an overly simplistic view of what's going on currently. But if anyone hasn't read into these things,
it's such a shame for the consumer, because I feel like we definitely felt the last one.
Yeah.
Right.
We all saw Quantum of Sala.
We all like even shows as good as Breaking Bad, right? They had their dips.
Well, actually, on that, this article that Sepinwall wrote talks about that show a lot. I'm really curious because I didn't watch that show concurrently, so I don't know exactly what phase of the show lined up with the strike. So I want to hear what he has to say about it, because he's written books about that show. So
I didn't watch, like, we were still doing the catch-up game of watching all seasons, but there was and I don't remember, it's been so long since I've watched it, but there was definitely a moment in time where, like, something's not quite right in this pocket. And it turned out that when I went back and researched it, it was because that was the pocket that was affected by the previous writer's strike. So what I was getting back to us, the viewers, what really sucks is we had talked about this during the COVID era, that, like, it was fun for a bit because we were getting a lot of big things that were coming directly to home for us to watch, which was nice. And then there was a lull, and a big lull, and that was the concern. Like, eventually, you're going to hit this pocket of time where, like, all of that freezing of time doesn't happen then for you that who's downstream. It happens later, right? So the hope was that after that was all going to happen was that we would basically have this television and movie renaissance.
Yeah.
And now this is happening, which is going to completely derail
that momentum
yeah. And that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks so much. I mean, granted, I think that people should be paid and paid adequately for their job, and I don't think that this is something to be taken lightly. I'm just saying, as the person downstream, I'm bummed.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, maybe I'll have an opportunity to catch up on some of the things I've missed the last few years that I wanted to get to.
That's a good way of looking at it.
On the other hand, I don't like that it comes at the expense of the continued production of other amazing things that I love.
Sure.
It's also it's kind of crazy because we think of that industry as being so flush with cash, and it is.
Flush with cash.
And so many people have made so much money on that, but you don't really, like, showrunners make a ton of money. Like, Larry David is obscenely wealthy because of Seinfeld and now Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, just the amount of money he made is truly unreal. But that money mostly doesn't exist anymore because that was when you had the biggest broadcast show for a decade that then gets syndicated up the ass for 20 years. And he made hundreds of millions of dollars that way.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't the only person to make an insane amount of money. Like, other people who created other shows in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s made a tremendous amount of money because of similar things. It doesn't really happen anymore. And that's really only for the showrunner and the top line stars. It's not for the lesser writers, which isn't to say the lesser in quality, but just like lesser experience, who have the smaller contributions to the show. Now, obviously, they should be paid less, but the question is how much less. And the way David Simon was talking about it today, I didn't realize the state of affairs. It was something that I found interesting because we're not writing an hour-long show for a network anymore, which would be, as you've joked with AMC, 38 minutes, but realistically, it's like 43 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever. You're now writing hour-long shows that are 58 minutes or 56 minutes. We're no longer doing 22 episode seasons. It's only 10 or 12 episode seasons, but the amount of time that's being taken to write those is about the same.
Mm-hmm.
Or the amount of, like, the same amount of work is going into it, we'll say, but because it's 10 episodes, they may have contracts for only 10 weeks, say, as opposed to a 22 episode show getting 22 weeks. So some of these smaller writers are not getting paid enough to live. Like, they're not making any money, hardly.
Yeah.
Did you hear the show? Did you hear about the show The Bear? I don't know if you watched that or not.
I feel like, did you bring this up at one point?
I'm sure we must have talked about it. I didn't watch it, though. It's one of the ones I'd like to get to. It was a FX show, or FX on Hulu show, that got a tremendous amount of critical acclaim. Was it last year or the year before? I forget. So one of the staff writers for that show was on the Levitard show last week, and he was talking about, like, that show was awarded like crazy. He's like, I have a couple $100.
Yeah.
He's like, it was 10 weeks of work, and then you don't have another show after that.
Yeah.
Even with it being beloved, and like, you would think people would want to snap everyone up, and some people are getting opportunities, but some aren't. Like, it's not that easy when you're low on the totem pole, and they're trying to squeeze. However, because I didn't realize the level. I was reading a little bit into the specific asks or whatever on the negotiation. It's like some of these things that they talk about, like the amount of, like, you have to, like, broker, okay, for a 10 episode show, a minimum of this many writers has to be hired. Like, that's how the current or the former CBA was going for them. I didn't know that was a thing. I just figured, whoever is making the show and the studio decides, well, we need 5 people or we need 3 people. No, it has to do with the amount of episodes and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of a fascinating subject. I didn't realize all of what it was.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Well, this will be an interesting one to keep an eye on
Yeah. Well,
for the
so
foreseeable future.
the news I saw today was because some of these shows, the showrunners, even though the studios have more or less demanded that they keep working or whatever, they suspended production on Andor season 2 today.
Mm.
Even though that's something they've been shooting, because a lot of these shows are being rewritten as they go. Like, okay, like we've locked in concrete the first 2 episodes, and we have pretty good scripts for the succeeding 8. But we'd like to keep working on them until the day we get to shoot. And you rewrite and you rewrite and you rewrite, and that was part of what Simon was talking about today. Was okay, you have one of these, say, like MCU shows or Star Wars shows or DC shows or whatever. It's okay. We're going to hire you for 10 weeks. You write 10 scripts,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just let those people go. And it's like, okay, we'll just figure it out as we go. We're not holding onto those people through the shooting process and thus having an opportunity to rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. He goes, that's how you write well. You write well because you keep rewriting and you keep rewriting.
Yeah. Oy. Well, keep an eye on Andor season 2 for whether or not we feel this one.
Yeah.
And we will, because one of the things that you are not going to be able to, you might be able to fix it eventually with a contract and getting people back in the door and actually starting back up again. But again, similar to what I was talking about with COVID leading into now another writer's strike, is what you've done is you've killed momentum, and killing momentum kills creativity. So
yeah, because you got to release people. Okay, we're not going to shoot, which means we can't block off your time because we can't afford to pay you to not shoot. So people go and say, okay, well, I have this other project. That script's done. I'm going to go shoot that. I can go shoot that sooner, or I can take this job. I can take this cameo role in this thing. And then who knows when you get back on set. And what you shot, if you started shooting part of an episode, you may have to shoot that over entirely because things change over time.
Mm-hmm. Brutal. Well, we'll see what happens. Why don't we move into some consumption, something that maybe will be lacking in the future?
Consume it now while you can.
Yeah, exactly. Let's start with TV consumption.
Okay.
What are you watching?
So I am up to date on Succession. I'm up to date on Ted Lasso. I am not up to date on, but I had been watching, I think I'm 2 episodes behind on Lucky Hank.
Okay.
I started watching season 2 of Star Wars Visions, which came out last week. I think that's it for television.
Nice. So since we've last spoken, Mando has come to an end.
Yes.
Season 3. I was very happy with how that all played out. That show is so interesting in like the waves that it rides. It's like crazy bombastic nonsense, and then it's like lull episode, but story building and character development, and then like craziness, and then a little bit of both, and then side story that like largely irrelevant, but it's just like all over the place. But it's such an entertaining thing to watch, and I really enjoyed the 3rd season as much as I've enjoyed the previous ones.
I did like the season. There were certainly some things I really liked, some things I kind of meh.
Yeah,
I think it was weirdly inconsistent, and
definitely was inconsistent.
Yeah, I don't think I quite liked it as much as the first 2 seasons, but I did still like it.
Yeah, I feel like the tone is very different just because like each season definitely has like a core feeling to it. Like the introductory season was amazing, right? And like learning about Din and like how he fits in this whole world, and then like the 2nd season and the sheriff and all that stuff was like just a really cool, like had a much heavier Western vibe to it. This actually had probably the most Star Wars vibe to it.
Yeah,
of the seasons. But I very much enjoyed it. I like that each one has been unique, but at the same time, you get to hang with these characters who you love and grow to love over time. It was a very entertaining like 7 weeks, I guess. Was it 7 episodes? I know when it was like season finale streaming now, and I was like, what?
I
It's
think every
over?
season's been 8 episodes.
So anyway, they're quick, but it is very fun. Succession, I too am up to date. I finished I watched Sunday's episode last night.
As
So
did I.
I'm interested to see where it's going. I'm a little bit concerned that there's not going to be some sort of cap to this series based on how things are rolling.
I would assume there will be, but the question is, what form does that take exactly? I mean, I think we're starting to see. Spoiler for if you haven't watched the whole season of Succession, but I did feel that by hook or by crook, by the end of the season, Logan was going to die. I was a little surprised
that it was so soon.
I actually kind of appreciate that because it was able to resonate fully as far as a shocking moment, despite the fact that you think it's going to happen at some point. To have it happen so early, you wonder, is it just another fake out, considering he's dodged brushes with his health like every season now. And the way that episode was shot was just so gripping and charged and adrenaline filled. Like, it was just an incredible hour of television. It's one of my favorite episodes of the whole show because it's just it's so fraught and emotional, and there's just some really clever cinematography choices that I really, really dug. And we saw some tremendous performances from like all of the leads. I mean, I thought that was a huge Matthew McFadden episode. I thought it was a huge Jeremy Strong episode. Sarah Snook got to really show off her full emotional range. And from just like, obviously it's very light on plot, but from just a character standpoint, you got so much of these terrible people, and they're all pretty terrible.
Yeah. They're all awful.
For a moment, you can empathize. At least one moment in the episode, you can empathize with each character, I think. And some more than others, but at least one point in the whole episode, I felt like you could, if you just divorce yourself from how dreadful these people are, you can say for just a second at some point or other.
Yeah, a fleeting moment.
Yeah.
No more than that.
Sure. But, whether it's Kendall saying, Dad, I love you. I hate you. I'm not okay with what you did, but I forgive you. I just, like, because you've been there for the whole bit of it. You've seen Kendall try to love him. You've seen him try to hate him. And you've seen that it's not okay, but that that all along he's wanted his approval. It's like, man, if I didn't hate you so much, I would be there crying with you, man. Like, but I do hate you. So, because you are terrible.
Yeah. It's funny, like I get it, and I can get feeling some emotion for some of these characters, like, for, again, very fleeting though.
Sure. You gotta, well, it's just that moment. I loathed Kendall just about the whole rest of the episode. I mean, I found it fascinating, but like in that moment, and he's not a real person, right? It's fine. But like in that moment, you can watch his whole path that leads him to here. I feel terrible for that person being that fucked up, because like I think he is among the worst of the people. But at the same point, like, as many bad choices as he's made, he is still a product of the terrible upbringing of this terrible man.
For sure. And I will say, like, and that's like the key, right? And that's like where you can find a little bit of empathy, is just that one aspect of it. However, I feel that Kendall has done enough horrible things on his own.
Oh, absolutely.
That he's like most every character is irredeemable. Like,
he's faced zero real repercussions for killing a person.
So
he's a terrible person.
I had no remorse. Like, I didn't even have, like, I get how you could, but I had zero remorse for Kendall. Don't care at all. Shiv, I hate her so much. I think she's the new worst. Logan was the worst. Shiv is the new worst to me.
No, I still think Logan's the worst, and well, Logan's dead, but
yeah.
So I still think Kendall's worst because he killed someone. But yeah, she's quickly moved up to second. Probably
it's bad news.
among the family. I mean, I don't like Mattson is probably right up there, but like I'm talking about only
That's God.
like
Yeah,
family
what a
members
disaster.
in this case.
Yeah, but yeah. So speaking of, but continuing on the family matter, Roman is the only one that like I do end up like throughout the series feeling bad for, because there's clearly so much wrong with him. Like that, like so much damage has been done to him over the years, like from birth.
But they all have. All of them have had.
They all have, but there's something about his storyline in particular that and the ambiguity around things that have happened to him that make it like that make him out to be much more of like a victim that you can get behind in certain circumstances.
It's the casual nature, because the one wonders how ambiguous it is. It's the casual nature. Is he gaslighting them? Are they gaslighting him? Is he gaslighting himself?
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Did he or did he not get asked to be put in that cage? It keeps coming back to that.
Yeah. So now, so that's the family, and then there's Tom, who's like secondary family.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like he's been part of the family from like, I understand he's not one of the sons, but he is absolutely a product of this family's stuff at this point. I mean, like, I would say he's less bad than the children.
Yeah.
Still like maybe not a bad person, but a detestable person.
Yes.
And
but there's definitely there is some love in him though.
That's what I'm saying. You said you still have a little bit more leeway for Roman than the other ones. To me, Tom is the one that, as much as I loathe him, like I just think he's such a bore. But
yeah,
and as much as he's willing to stifle it and say and do terrible things, mostly say terrible things.
So yeah,
there are real windows into an actual human in there.
Yes.
And like he, as much as it's gross,
especially in the last episode.
Yeah. Well, really, there's been breadcrumbs all along the way. I mean, one of the most powerful lines in the whole show is the scene on the beach in the second season when he says to Shiv, "Sometimes I wonder if the pain I would feel without you would be less than the pain I would feel with you."
Yeah.
That was such a powerful line and such a powerful delivery by him in that scene. And like we've seen that all along the way. In the first season, when she tells him that she wants to have an open marriage, like an hour after they got married.
Yeah.
That scene in season 2.
Brutal.
In season 3, when he volunteers half-heartedly to go to prison and be the fall guy, and she's like, "Yeah, you should go to prison."
Yeah.
And now what she's done to him this season, there's been a crowning moment of it every season of how terrible that she's been to him.
Yeah.
And his betrayal of her last season was just as bad as any of the things that she's done. But like, if we're gonna keep score, and you shouldn't keep score in a marriage, it's still 4-1 Shiv.
Yeah. Yeah. That scene on the beach was a great one, but I've definitely enjoyed. I thought the scene of the two of them on the balcony in the previous episode,
phenomenal,
was just an incredible and the whole like when he and like the mic drop moment of him yelling like, "You were gonna let me go to jail," like that whole. I was like, ooh, I was like, it's all coming out right now, and then. It's just so funny because you get caught up in the arguments that are happening in this show. Meanwhile, when you take a step back, you're like, "No, I'm not. I am not rooting for anyone. I hate all of you." But when she was like, "You don't deserve me," I was like, "No, you don't deserve Tom." What am I saying?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I know we don't see eye to eye on this exactly. I know academically you understand, or intellectually you understand my argument on this.
Yeah.
Even if you don't feel it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But why this show is so incredible is, yes, I hate every one of them so much. But the confluence of writing and direction and performance makes you root against your own interests, I find, in a way that a lesser show would not be capable of evoking
Mm-hmm.
that empathy from you.
Which
Because
is also
at the end of
crazy,
the day,
considering
when,
that
when you shut it off, you're like, oh, I hate all of them. But
yeah,
in the moment, you look past it.
Yeah, I only look past it for like split seconds at a time while
That's
I'm
enough,
in the
though.
moment. But
That's
still,
enough.
yeah. I will the oh god, I hate them so much. I hate them all. My the thing is, like, we think about the Sopranos, and we've talked about them at length before, but I don't think that there was ever a moment in that show where I particularly rooted for one character over another. I just hated everybody, and I would wish ill on people more so in one moment than another.
So
This
show,
this one, I actually end up in pockets being like, no, okay, right now, I want this person to come out on top.
Well, that's why this show, I think, is a worthy successor to that one, because that's the first one to do anything like this. Everything that's spawned since then, whether it be directly in the case of Mad Men or indirectly in the case of Breaking Bad, they have a bunch of hateable characters, and they make you root for one hateable character. In The Sopranos, every season you end up rooting for Tony at some point, whether it be against Uncle Junior because him and his mother conspire to kill him, whether it be against I forget the Jackie Aprile in the second season, someone who he welcomes back in, he puts back up on his feet, and Jackie's ego lets him think that Tony should be bending the knee to him and not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
You root, and then you see Jackie, smack around his sister, and so when she shoots him, it's like, okay, great,
Yeah.
Or when it comes to Ralphie Cifaretto, who is the most disgusting character that exists on that show, when Tony's beating the shit out of him, you're rooting for it. It's a terrible, brutal display of violence, but it's being acted upon the worst person that is on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But all the other characters you tend not to root for in any way, shape, or form meaningfully over anything, right? It only ever comes back to Tony. And in the same way with Dexter or Breaking Bad, you root for the anti-hero / the villain who is the protagonist at times, while also ultimately in lesser times saying, this person's not great, and then they keep roping you back into just that one person. This show is the perfect spiritual successor to The Sopranos because it was able to take that model, which only worked for the central character, and is able to twist and manipulate it in such a way that, depending on what's going on, you could be rooting for anyone on this show. Even Logan at times. When Kendall teams up with Sandy and Stewie with the bear hug, you want to see how Logan's going to wriggle out of it. Because Kendall isn't worthy in that time.
Nah.
So even Logan you can root for. When Shiv is getting sidelined by the brothers, you wonder, what's she going to do to get the upper hand here? When Kendall reaches his lowest and then decides to find God for like 1 second, and he burns Logan with the files on the cruise scandal, you're rooting for Kendall there. You realize, of course, that predictably, that's a super shallow move. It's purely tactical on his standpoint. He's not actually making a morality play, and so you immediately go back to hating Kendall again. But for one moment, even if he doesn't actually fool you, you're willing to be convinced. Every one of these people you can root for, even if it's for a moment, because they're fighting against someone who's even grosser than they are.
Yeah, that's fair. I would like to correct a portion of this whole narrative that The Sopranos started all of this type of storytelling, because really it was Seinfeld.
But that was an outright comedy, not...
It was, however, it is I feel like that's my origin for, like that's the first thing that I can think of where everybody is terrible.
Yeah, but it's much lesser terrible. No one's getting killed.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You know what I
mean. But no, it's funny. I still stand by, I don't think the Sopranos doesn't hold up to me. this works a little bit better for today, especially with the length of the seasons and the quality of each episode.
Well, they're both products of their time.
Sure. Yeah, so we'll see how this one stands the test of time. I truly do not feel that The Sopranos has, and for other folks that have watched it for the first time recently, I'm generally able to get them like to agree. Like, yes, good. Yes, I get it. I don't. It doesn't. It's not really for me, and I'd much rather watch something else.
Oh, that's fine.
But this, yeah, I'm excited for the show to be over. I'm exhausted by it, but I am curious to see where it goes. I do hope that it goes with them all getting buried, because that would be my perfect ending for this.
Sure, but you know this world.
Yeah.
So I'm surely someone will have some sort of consequences somewhere. But this doesn't end with like Seinfeld with all of them going to prison.
No. I was a little bit worried, like, especially with his exhaustion. I thought Tom was going over that balcony.
Yeah,
it was very telegraphed. Like, they kept like angling it that way. They kept pushing him outside. Like, it was weird, and like he was breaking down slowly over the episode until it all comes to a head. And I was like, "This is intense."
Well, I will say the show is so good that I felt a certain level of like fictional bloodlust within myself last night towards the end of that episode, where when it's all said and done, that episode, I was like, so this episode ends with him killing himself, or Shiv killing herself, or him killing Shiv, or Shiv killing him, right? I mean,
yeah,
you would like that seemed like that was where it was rushing towards.
Yeah.
And when you couple it with the scorpion and the frog metaphor that's been carried along the whole episode, which is just a microcosm of the entire show with the two of their relationship. Which, by the way, one of the most hilariously stupid things anyone's ever done in the show. He buys her a scorpion to indicate her that she is the scorpion in the frog metaphor. And he's like, no, it's funny, it's a joke. And then she brings it up. He's like, yeah, no, of course. You're a terrible person. You keep hurting me. like, why would he do that? It seemed like they had kind of sort of patched things up.
Yeah.
And it was always doomed for it to fail at some point. I was a little surprised how quickly it failed again, but it was never more obvious that it was going to fail than when he's given her this stupid gift.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was so dumb.
And I will admit, a little heavy-handed when he screams at her, "You're someone who I think probably shouldn't have children." And of course, he still doesn't know.
Yeah,
she still hasn't told him, but it's a little heavy-handed, but genuine, I think, and authentic to the character. I mean,
and their relationship and the things that they've talked about.
In the same way with Madsen, who's in no way, shape, or form veiled. He's Elon Musk in the show. Like, that's who they're writing. Yeah. When he gets into the argument with Kendall and just screams, well, your numbers are gay. And it's like, yeah, like that's par for the course.
Mm-hmm.
A bit heavy-handed, but it gets the point across, right? It's almost exactly the same situation as when those kids were trapped in, was it Vietnam or Thailand? I forget. In the
Thailand.
And he offers the submarine, and the guy who's like coordinating the things like, I appreciate the offer, but like it's not helpful. And then Elon Musk calls him a pedophile.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just smidge heavy-handed. Well, your numbers are gay. And it's like, yeah, no, I mean, that sounds right. Like, that would be what he would do in this situation. But like, you probably could have been just a slight bit more deft in your touch than that.
I am annoyed at the amount of talent that family is capitalizing on. It's just ridiculous. The Skarsgårds are just too good at what they do.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk
more
about
on that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit more. It's not fair, especially when you consider how young Bill is. Like, he's like my age, right?
Yeah.
He's already a fantastic actor.
We spent a ton of time on Succession. Yes. I think what we should do is let's burn through the rest of Consumption, pausing periodically, and we'll save some things for next week. that being said, you had mentioned I will also. I also am watching Ted Lasso. I'm also up to date on that. I was surprised to find that there was an episode available yesterday, which I didn't.
All season long, the Wednesday episodes are being made available on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So it's a Tuesday show. I don't know why they're still calling it a Wednesday show when it's on every Tuesday it's out.
Good to know. I didn't have to be waiting for it this whole time. But I love it. I love the way that episode played out. I've just been I just adore that show, and I'm already ready to rewatch it. We were eating dinner.
We don't have time to relitigate the rectangle table debate that we all had Saturday. Table. Well, there was 6 of us at your table. It was a great conversation. I will say, for as much of my complaints about, I don't think that the whole show this season has been poorly written. I feel like it's been inconsistent, where there have been super strong moments and there's been super weak moments. I thought this week's episode was incredibly well written. I thought it was a fantastic episode.
It was wonderful.
Might have been the best episode of the season.
Kim and I sat down to eat dinner. She's like, "We don't have anything to watch." I was like, "Do you want to just watch last night's episode again?" Because it was so good. But anyway, that's been great. We watched all of the final season of Working Moms since we've last spoken. Which I don't know if you've watched that show, but it's 7 seasons.
No,
it's a lot. Who's
in that show? I don't know if I can place that one.
It's on Netflix. I think her name is Catherine Reitman. Is the creator. It's really good. It's very silly. Some seasons take a little while to get their footing / recover from where they decide to go, but all in all, it was an entertaining watch. And you go through it pretty quick. Some of the things they come out with are just hilarious, but it was good. Another one, definitely done. Good thing they finished it. Like, it was getting a little long on the tooth, but entertaining. A Million Little Things I have mentioned in the past that we watch. There's the series finale. We have it. We have not watched it because that show has taken a turn in the last episode where it's like, why are you doing this thing that makes it so awful?
Wait, sorry, which show?
A Million Little Things.
I thought this.
Like, they've decided to make a move with a character that's just like absolutely devastating and horrible and unnecessary for the end of the series. And maybe they have a stronger feeling on why it should be done this way. It feels like it just feels wrong, like taking advantage of your emotions type of thing. We'll eventually probably watch it, but right now, like, Kim's like, I don't even want to finish it. Like, we watched the entire series. There's one episode left, and we're like, I don't blame her. I'm like, I don't really want to watch it either. I want to watch it so that it's off my plate.
I mean, if it's one episode, you got to do it.
Eventually we will, but like, it's irritating what they've done. Anyway, that's a show that was like, and like, I mean, granted, it's a family drama show. It's like, none of those are good shows. I don't know how to describe this. Like, they're not except Parenthood. I don't know if you ever watched Parenthood, but that show was fantastic.
I saw the movie. I never saw the show.
The show was great, but like, this is like, we're going to pull on your heartstrings every episode or every 2 episodes in a really rough way, and it's fine, but like, it got dark.
NBC's really got the market corner on that, right? Because that wasn't Parenthood NBC, and it's also, they had that show with Mandy Moore. This Is Us.
This Is Us. Same show. I think it was.
They're the same show.
Yep. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on A Million Little Things. Moving on to movies. Obviously, we're going to be doing John Wick, which is the first time that we're doing a relevant movie in a while. I was happy I got to see that in theaters. I also got to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 on opening night.
Yeah, I still haven't got a chance to see it.
I haven't done an opening night in so long now. And by opening night, I mean Thursday evening, because I love that this has become a thing. It's like, we're going to play it at midnight on Thursday into Friday. Cool. We could probably make some more money out of this if we put a few more showings in. Cool. Let's just say it opens Friday, but it's available all day Thursday. Yeah. That's what it's come down to.
I mean, certainly they've gotten to the point where like it was midnight, then it was like 10, then it was like 7. Have they encroached even further on the day?
Oh, yeah. The earliest show was 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was real early. But anyway, that was we'll talk about that movie when we actually get to it. But I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And then two more movies that to touch on. One, Renfield, which I think is still in theaters,
but it's also available.
But you could buy it.
Demand, yeah.
Yeah. So we just bought it. It's the cost of 2 movie tickets to just buy it versus renting it is the cost of 1.5 movie tickets. So it's like, just buy it and then you have it if you want to watch it again. Very silly. It's very funny because the script, the story, what they're doing, complete nonsense. Shouldn't work, right? It's dumb. It should be a B movie. It is a stupid thing that they've done. However, every single person that is performing in the movie is giving 100%. And I don't understand why, but it works. And it's so funny. It's just really, it's just a dumb, like, it's like a 6 or a 7, but like for a movie that should be a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
Like, and it's really, like, it's very, I mean, Nick Cage doing his thing, very entertaining. You got Ben Schwartz, always a good time. What's his name? Nicholas Hoult.
Mm-hmm.
The range on this guy is unacceptable. Like, it's unacceptable. it's out of control. It's like no, similar to the Scars. I was like, why are you so good at this? Like, it's just a really, really tremendous. Awkwafina, so funny. Like, it's worth the watch. I think we'll definitely. It's definitely worth us doing or covering on the show, and I think you would enjoy it yourself.
I think my parents watched it. I think they rented it Saturday when I was with you guys.
Okay, nice.
They liked it. They said it was silly.
It's very silly.
I didn't watch it. I'll get around to it eventually.
It's got a little bit of everything in it. It's got a little, it's like nonsense Dracula. It's got a little bit of Scott Pilgrim-y vibes with some of the cuts that it does. It's just fun. It's again, the concept. It's got a little what we do in the shadows because of how ridiculous the concepts are, and like it's so silly, and I very much enjoyed myself. And then my dad was over. He was watching Elio while we went to a couple open houses. When we came back, he had just started a movie, so I sat down and started watching the movie with him. It was called Paranoia. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I'm not sure.
Came out in like 2013. Gary Oldman. Harrison Ford, the main actor's name is escaping me. He's Liam Hemsworth.
I don't think I know this one.
Okay. Ow. Start watching the movie. I'm like, what is this random movie that's on? And it's like, it's over the top with like technical jargon that is not accurate, programming things that are not accurate, like guy soldering a circuit board and like phones lighting up, like just stupid things like that.
What is it with the Hemsworths with weirdly niche programming movies that are not accurate? Because he was in, was it Black Hat or White Hat, whatever it was called?
Yeah.
Chris?
I have no idea. But this movie does a weird thing. Amber Heard also in it. It does a weird thing where it's like, okay, the technical jargon and stuff you're throwing around is absolute nonsense. But the story so far, compelling, interesting. See where it's going. Oh, cool. Building relationships. And then somewhere, like, I don't know, 2/3 through the movie, I'm like, did the writers leave? Like,
yeah, there was a strike.
Because it gets so bad, like so bad. Whereas like it was borderline compelling before, and like all they had to do was stick with that. Like, it wouldn't have been hard to stick the landing even slightly, but they just go way off the deep end. And I'm like, all I can think about in this movie is, how the fuck did this get made? Like, they greenlit this movie. They obviously spent a lot of money in names, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but somebody read this script start to finish, right? Before they said yes. And I'm like, who?
I always wonder that when you get a movie that has like big names, like not has-been names, big names, and then it's like a dreadful movie, and it's like, how do they get them to stay on set? Who had compromising photos of them?
Right. Yeah. Harrison Jobs was a bit much towards the end.
Oh.
Like, I mean, like turtleneck, circular glasses. Like, it was. I couldn't. It was like a little on the nose. But it's just like, this movie is absolutely ridiculous.
You should
And then it ended,
submit that
and I
one.
was like, what did I watch?
You should submit that one too. How did this get made? And I
Yeah.
would listen to that episode just because of this.
Yeah. I would love to hear them talk about this. Anyway, those are the movies. Do you have a list of movies?
I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie in theaters with Dominic dressed as Mario. So I sent you the picture of us in Buffalo Wild Wings afterwards.
Amazing.
Yeah, there was like a 55-year-old man who came up to Dominic in Buffalo Wild Wings to take a picture with him because he was just as Mario.
Are you the real Mario? Oh my god.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. It was very silly.
I want to watch that.
Definitely worth a watch. It was nice. It was cool how they got all the different like Mario and Mario adjacent properties associated in the thing. And
cool.
Jack Black's ridiculous.
I love it. I love Jack Black.
Pratt is surprisingly not that annoying. The Donkey Kong thing was fun. I forgot that Seth Rogen was playing Donkey Kong.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah. But the whole group, because they have like a whole subplot that goes into like straight up like DK Racing / like Diddy Kong, like that whole thing. So yeah, it was a good time. It was
nice.
You know, it was an animated movie. It was par for the course.
I'll check that out for sure.
I feel like I saw something else that I hadn't seen like on like streaming or something a few weeks ago, but I don't remember what now. There's a couple things I still want to see that I haven't gotten to that came out in the last few weeks. I still haven't watched Ghosted, which I want to watch. It's probably terrible,
Same.
but I want to see it. I want to watch Quasi. That's the Broken Lizard movie. That's like kind of their take on Quasimodo, but not really. It sounds like. I think all of them play like 2 or 3 roles in the movie.
God. Okay.
I think that's on Hulu. And obviously I want to see Guardians, but I just haven't got a chance to get there yet.
Well, you'll get there.
Yeah. And then there's one last thing that so I have two things. One quick thing that I want to talk about, and then something that we should still talk about. I have been crushing some books lately.
Nice.
Most of them have been on the shorter side. But obviously I don't think I actually talked about it in the last episode. I remember I had it in the notes, but I had finished the Foundation series. I don't have to get into that too much, but I enjoyed my time with it. It built towards something entirely unexpected in the last 2 books. But still, it was an adventure. It was interesting.
Cool.
So I've talked about a bunch of times that I'm a huge fan of. I've been kind of raised on Cold War thrillers and spy type movies and books.
Yep.
I have a deep abiding love for Robert Ludlum's work. I'm a huge Tom Clancy fan. There's obviously been a million other writers who've written those stories, but there's one other titan of that industry that I never really engaged with too much of that I finally decided to take care of, and that's John le Carré. He wrote a bunch of different spy books that were supposed to take place, like mostly I think in the Cold War. I have talked a million times on this about The Night Manager, which was a show on AMC. Well, I think it was technically a BBC production, but BBC and AMC are associated. That is based on one of his books, but not part of his kind of overarching series that a lot of his books were, which all concern in some way, shape, or form the character George Smiley. So I'm reading through the George Smiley books. The first one was Call for the Dead. The second one was Murder of Quality. The first one, it's him as like spy type stuff. It's kind of a Jack Ryan style thing where he's not James Bond. He's a guy who works at a desk who has been in the war, but is not going out and kicking ass.
Yeah.
The second one, he kind of does a Sherlock Holmes thing. I wasn't as big a fan of that one. It was fine, but it just wasn't. It was a detective novel essentially. The third one, though, he's barely in, but that was le Carré's first major hit. It was The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. You may have heard of that one. It's like a famous one. It's been a movie and all that stuff. Fantastic book. That's cool. That's that cool old school spy shit that I love. That was really, I really enjoyed that one. And I'm on the one after that, which is the Mirror War, or the Looking Glass War. That's what it was. The Looking Glass War, which is It's interesting. I'm still pretty early into that one. None of
Nice.
them are super long, although this one and the last one are a bit longer than the first two were. But I'm glad that I'm finally really enjoying, or finally really sinking my teeth into these. The next one will be Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which is also a super famous book. There was a big movie that was made.
Yeah, one of the few movies I've ever turned off.
I saw that movie, and I couldn't tell you what it was about, like in no way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
I don't think it was a very good movie. I hope the book is better. It's considered a classic of the form, so I'm sure I will enjoy it. I'm sure it will be better explained. I think there's so little dialogue in that movie. I don't understand how it's possible.
Couldn't tell you. I turned it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice. I on the topic of reading, I have sat down with my book again after another long hiatus. I think I found out
the
one
brother
of
and
the
sister
problems.
met finally, right?
They did, yes. I think I found out what one of my issues is with it. The story's great. The world building's great. I'm really excited to see where it goes. I get really invested in the perspective and the portion of the story that we're telling. So, like, for example, the last chapter that I read was Maya's chapter, and the chapters are long, and like they have like multiple breaks like in the chapter, like, but it's still technically one chapter, and it's for like about this particular person, the sister versus the brother in this case, and like this particular one was like really captivating. I was like really excited. I was like getting into it, and I'm realizing more and more. I definitely like her storyline better. So that's one part of it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is each chapter ends on a cliffhanger for that character. And then you have to spend an entire other long chapter on this other person. And I'm like, no, like when I turned the page and it was over and I was like, oh, come on. That was so epic. Like, where is this about to go? I'm like, now I want to kind of rush through the next chapter so that I can get back to that part of the story. But we'll see. That's what it's a really cool concept. It's a really interesting story. Her story is better, I think. So, like,
I mean, it always ends up being inevitable. You know, if there's two perspectives, one's going to be better. Three or four,
but like,
there's always going to be one that stands out as being the least good of them.
But it also feels like writing wise that like there's an inconsistency, like where one is better fleshed out and more cohesive, and the other one is like almost peppers in too many like other characters and ideas and like throws a bunch of stuff in there because like we didn't quite know what to do in this situation. Like that's what it feels. But anyway, all in all, I am enjoying it, and I'm glad to be back on it.
I mean, it's the old like Game of Thrones joke, like, oh, it's another Sansa chapter, or oh, it's another Bran chapter. Like that's, yes, there's always a character or characters whose perspectives are less interesting or the storylines are less interesting than the rest. But
you run the risk if you're going to write the book that way, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, one could be better than the other, and they could both be good. But it sounds like maybe the other one isn't as good. So
yeah, it's not.
So, final thing we need to talk about is Jedi Survivor.
Yes. So Jedi Survivor is out. I've probably put in 3 hours.
Okay.
At this point,
I'm probably in the 12-ish hour range.
I've sat down with it twice so far. I'll probably sit down with it again tomorrow for an hour or two.
I got to play for not quite an hour before we recorded tonight while I was waiting on you. So
it is everything that I hoped it would be. It is the incredible first game elevated to the next level.
Yes.
And that is it is exactly what a sequel needs to be.
Yeah, because it takes all of the things that the first one did right and made them 5% better, basically.
Right.
And then still
they
found
didn't
a way
make you forget all your powers to get started.
Yeah, I mean, they took away a little bit stuff from the margin. Crazy. Really, the biggest thing that they took away was like your health meter and the amount of stims you carry.
Right, which is fine because it kind of motivates you to explore.
But they give you your stances. You still have all your traversal. They did take away some of the moves, I guess, but they did keep enough of it that was like seamless that you could get through. But
yeah, which I'm okay with. I'm also hoping that they do a better job with it. I haven't read or looked into anything because I don't want to accidentally spoil anything for myself. But I'm kind of hoping. Nope. I'm kind of hoping that the new game plus for this is actually a true new game plus where you actually do have all of like I would like my skill tree at least to remain.
Hmm.
And like even if
I
I
never played
understand
it in
like
the first one.
storytelling wise, like they probably can't like as far as they like you might actually break the game if you give me traversal things too quick.
Yeah,
Like I get that aspect
you
of it.
probably can't have the traversal stuff.
And that would be fine. But I could have all my combat moves and
Yeah.
all of my force and all of my health. Like I think that would be because that would be really fun.
Yeah.
It'd be really fun to start the game off with all of the things. And like I'm sure by the end of it, you probably don't have enough leveling up to actually max everything out. So you could probably max out the things that you've missed
Yeah.
in that time, which would be cool. So I'm hoping that it has that. So far, I've only got the 3 stances. I haven't.
Yeah, you have a few hours with that. I will say, after you leave Kobo, the first planet you go to, you got to play a whole big section, and then when you go to leave that planet, you are given the blaster stance. I'll tell you that.
Nice.
And then, depending on how you choose to pursue the rest of the story after that, because it gives you 2 options. You either go back to Kobo and explore a new area, or you go to the moon orbiting Kobo. And I went to the moon, so I was like, all right, well, I'm sure I'll be going to Kobo again at some point anyway, so let me check out this new area. I got the final stance there, but it could be one of those things where you might be able to...
You get it either way, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah, it's such a fun game. Like, it perfectly captures the whole, like, give me Jedi powers that the Jedi Knight games did so well on top end, but merges it really well with Shadows of the Empire. Like, I'm kind of like this like rough character trying to get through it all. It's just I absolutely adore the game.
Also, if you ever wanted to be Han Solo and Luke Skywalker at the same time, you can with the blaster stance.
You can.
You have the kind of inelegant form of the lightsaber that Luke has, but that's effective.
Mm-hmm.
Combined with the quick draw of Han. And honestly, kind of one of the best things about it, it's like such a little weird thing, but that I appreciate is when you're doing it, if you're being attacked and you block with one hand, you can hold the block or time your blocks for like parry blocks. And also, if you shoot at the same time, while you hold the lightsaber up and block, underneath it, like the Blue Raja, he pulls the fucking pistol and shoots at the same time. Like quick draws out of the holster.
That's so great.
It's kind of a cool little detail about it that I really dig. I have one criticism of the game. It doesn't do a tremendous job of reading input. I feel like there's a lot of times where I hit a button and it doesn't respond the way it should exactly.
Really?
Not in a game breaking way, but just in the middle of a frenetic fight. Occasionally, like something happens, and I'm like, but I pressed the swing lightsaber button, and he didn't swing the lightsaber.
Interesting.
It's like it's like 5% of the time
here and there,
but like it does happen in enough times that it's noticeable. Like it's not just a delay thing. Like it's not like because like if I'm using, and obviously I'm still getting used to this part of it, like if I'm using dual wield, everything is super fast, and then if I go to cross guard, everything is super slow. It's not just I hit this button and I was expecting it to swing faster because I was using the faster thing. But
it's funny that you say that because I was listening to a couple of game podcasts, and one of them brought up the fact that people have come across a couple of bugs here and there, crashes and whatnot. But one of the more interesting ones that somebody came across was that the LB in our case, because we're playing on Xbox, wasn't registering at all anymore. It's like as if it was disconnected. And they're like, I've never once had a bug in a game where a button on the controller just didn't do anything anymore. And they restarted and it worked fine. So I'm wondering if there is something to the stances and the timing that actually manipulates the input lag, like to create that feeling of it's a slower move or it's a faster stance, and maybe it's a little bit buggy.
Yeah, I mean, so that would make sense because I think what I've noticed the most is the swing. I have noticed occasionally that I've missed blocks when I've should be blocked, but that's been more of a delay than a not working at all thing.
Yeah.
And I haven't stress tested it enough yet, but I haven't actually noticed a speed differential with blocking,
Okay.
depending on which, like, meaning, like, I don't think that the crossguard stance blocks slower than single blade. I could be wrong, but I haven't noticed that. But, like, the swing obviously is much slower.
Sure.
But it's a pretty small thing because, like, it's still, and, like, if I die once, like, I don't care. Like, it's like annoying, but it's not a big deal. But that's really the only criticism I have of the game so far. It looks gorgeous. I've had way less, like, lag and, like, texture pop stuff, and I'm not running, like, the highest performance mode either. Like,
you're doing the fidelity mode.
Yeah.
Same.
The traversal is so slick. Some of the issues I had,
it's so much more fluid.
Yeah, like, literally the only criticism I had, like I mentioned to you, was I could be misremembering this, but I thought in the first game, when you got to the top of a climbing section, if you just pressed up, you would mount the surface as opposed to having to press A most of the time to do it here. That's a really small gripe. Like, the ability to do, and, like, they really put you through your paces with some of this, where, like, I would rival, like, say, like, Kashyyyk, when you get the double jump, when you have to, like, swing and pull the thing, and then wall run to wall run to wall run to wall run. And sometimes, like, if you didn't get it exactly right, you wouldn't make it. Whereas this, you could actually, like, double jump off of the wall and back onto the same wall you were running on.
Yeah.
The thing where you, like, can jump up tubes by going, like, the back and forth jump.
That's the Mario 64 wall kick.
Yes. You can do it without a tube. When it's just a single wall, you just jump back and then back to the wall you're on.
Yeah.
The coolest one that doesn't always work, but has worked at least once or twice, is when they have one of those sections, but down, you jump and he puts his lightsaber out and drags down the wall.
I haven't done that.
There's one specific transition into a cutscene on the first planet after Kobo where I didn't know what to do. And I was like, well, that's clearly one of those surfaces, so let me see what happens. And then he did it, and then it goes into a cutscene, and I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
Nice.
And then
that's awesome.
And then I died.
No. Yeah.
Not because I fell, because something killed me.
Sure. The game is really, it's just really great. I couldn't be happier with it.
And so many boss fights and, like, fun ones. Everyone's different.
Yeah, I like a good boss fight in that game. I will say I did not appreciate being gaslit by a Wampa. Like, I'm like, I killed 2 of these already. Similar to, you said you killed multiple beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Like, I already fought 2 of them without issue. I was like, I don't understand. And then I was like, oh, this must be the one that everybody was talking about beforehand. That's, like, for whatever reason, like, frustratingly impossible. And I'm like, eventually I got myself into a pocket, but, like, when I finally killed it, I barely had a notch of health left.
That's the one thing that I actually kind of appreciate about some of the boss fights, is you have to use a few stims to kill them, even when you're on. Like, because, like, there's enough variety and the AI is aggressive enough. But it's, like, not mostly in a cheap way. And, if you die, you learn their tricks, so eventually you're better the second time or whatever. But, like, for the most part, I haven't ever really felt like, oh, that was, like, a cheap thing. There's really been a couple of specific instances where, like, they've linked together 2 unblockable attacks in a way that I didn't think they were able to do. But then there's also been a couple times where, like, I actually had this issue where I was fighting this one creature, I don't remember what it's called, but I've fought a few of them now, where it uses an unblockable attack that I find easy to dodge. And I've gone to attack because it looks like they should be kind of staggered by their own thing, but they actually have a counter move that comes right out of it. And it happened to be 3 different times. And on the third one, I was like, how many times are you going to fall for it now? Yeah. I was like, stop doing it. You see this thing that looks like a golden opportunity. No, it's literally designed that it's always going to counter there. Stop doing
that.
That
stupid creature of Dathomir in the first game used to do that.
Yes.
That giant, where it would, like, oh, it's done. And then it would be like, wah! And it would flail both arms.
Oh, when you killed it? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, you bastard. That's so irritating. What I haven't quite figured out with the unblockable attacks is, like, are you able to dodge them? Like, are all of them dodgeable?
They are, but some of them have area of effect that you can't just dodge. You also have to get a certain distance apart. Okay. So the funny thing is, I actually really struggled with not the roll, but the evade in the first game. I thought it was clunky. In this, I'm really good at it.
Yeah, same. All of a sudden, I'm like, I am
They
doing
really
the
cleaned
evade
up
perfectly.
they cleaned up the mechanic, which is great because if you upgrade certain trees, like you'll regain force or
Yeah,
whatever, and like
I
that's
have that
a super
enabled.
important trait to be able to execute with great efficiency. So like there's certain creatures that have unblockables that have area of effect. Some of them is very small. Like as long as you're not within like 2 feet of it, you'll dodge it or whatever. But some of them have ones that go farther apart. So you really have to like you can't evade, you have to roll, but you can dodge it. But some of them,
Yeah.
like as long as you time the evade perfectly, it doesn't matter how close you are, you will dodge it. You just gotta get the
Okay.
timing right.
But like with that Wampa or
Yeah.
whatever it's called,
The Mogu.
Mogu, it has two it has three. One is where it pounds the ground and the
You have
force
to
thing
jump
comes
over
out.
it,
That
like the
one's
ninth
fine.
sister, yeah.
Yeah, you can either jump or you can actually, that one actually is pretty easy. If you double back roll, you can get away from it.
Okay. For me, I usually like dodge and then double jump.
But the two other red attacks that it has,
One of them is a bear hug.
and one of them is the grab where he
Yeah.
slams you into the ground, right? And like that one in particular, I found that I just couldn't quite figure out what it was that you have to do to avoid it.
Every one of those things has a different window. Some of them, any sort of attempt to dodge or roll, you'll just automatically dodge it. Some of
Yeah.
them you have to time the window perfectly. Or like for some of them, like I think the one when the Bedlam Raider with the jetpack does the spear move, if you just hit the evade, even timing it right doesn't always work because you're still within the since it's coming linearly right at you and evade always goes straight back, they'll still spear you.
Mm.
But if you do the sidestep move, there's a great window for any sidestep will dodge it.
Gotcha. So if you to evade is B once and a direction.
It's hold B,
Hold B.
I believe. So
Interesting.
if you press B in a direction, you either step back or step right or step left. If you hit B twice, you roll. But if you hold B, you do like the bullet time where you lean back in slow motion.
Oh.
That's the precision evade.
Okay. I thought I had to still tap a direction to do
I
that.
don't think so. I think just holding B, you do the precision evade, and that's the one that if you have it upgraded, like you get force back for timing it right.
All right. Cool. I'll play with that. Anyway, all I want to do is get back to that game. It's so much fun.
It is.
I think that's it for consumption.
It's probably for the best.
It's probably for the best. Well, with that, let us get into our flick of the week. John Wick Chapter 4, released in 2023, rated R, with a whopping 2 hour and 49-minute runtime.
Whopping.
Your IMDb synopsis. John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table. But before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into enemies. Old friends into foes.
Yeah, I mean, probably too vague, but yeah.
Yeah. What's your? Give me your toot length.
A series that started with a slick but simple look at a complicated world continued to raise the stakes all the way through to the end? In a really polished way. A testament to action filmmaking at its best. 7.5 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with your sentiment. I feel like the way that I worded it is going to make it sound more negative than I mean. But while I'm always excited for more John Wick, the formula has run its course. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the verbiage of mine probably indicated maybe a higher grade than what I gave.
And mine indicated a lower score. Yeah, for sure. I will say I've really enjoyed these movies through and through. I think they've done an incredible job. We've talked about it at length in the previous John Wick episodes, but the world building is second to none.
Yes.
That being said, it has gotten what was becoming a little bit repetitive in this is the idea of like, okay, introduce a new mechanic that is there and has precedent for their world, but we're just being introduced to it now. Make that a main portion of the storytelling, some derived thing to make us shoot more people. Like that's like it's just like this, and then we do that again, and it's like, okay, here's a marker. Here's here's a this, here's a that, here's getting condemned, or here like there's just like add a thing that like it's actually a really clever writing tactic in that they could just make some random shit up because the talent that they have for writing these is figuring out a way of weaving that into this world that they've created on screen where it does make sense. But like the caveat being anything that they say could probably make sense.
What I appreciate is they've limited the variables in such a way that when they choose to introduce a new thing that's really ultimately some sort of MacGuffin,
yeah,
it doesn't break what came before.
It doesn't.
Like the marker.
That's where the talent comes in.
Yes, because it's not that complicated. I mean, certainly the plot isn't that complicated. The world building is in some ways, but even there, they found very specific avenues they want to pursue. So in the first one, you have, okay, there is an entire world of assassins living beneath the surface of regular civilization. One would think that there does not need to be this amount of assassins in the world, but that's that's besides the point. And the fact that they all know each other is pretty incredible. But
okay, say something.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're gonna continue right on through. Your light turned yellow in the recording, and your vocal dropped, but it's back.
Okay.
Hopefully we didn't miss anything important. Anyway, go on.
So anyway, you have the first one where it's like, okay, world of assassins. We have this hotel. Don't kill anyone inside the hotel. That was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. It's easy, okay? And we have a guy who's out. He's back in. Blah, blah, blah. Someone killed his dog. He's going to kill everyone. Can't kill him inside the hotel, so he's going to go kill everyone outside the hotel. Kills everyone. Done. Great. Simple story. Second one. Okay, well, if the only way out of this business is if you get a promise from the people who run the whole world. Okay, so we have the table, runs the whole world. And we have markers, which are blood debts that one owes to someone. And you have to close the marker to no longer be under its threat. If the marker is open, it can be called at any time. That doesn't in any way, shape, or form break what came before it.
Right.
Because certainly if there is a hotel that everyone agrees that there's rules that one can't hurt each other with, well, certainly that's governed by someone outside of the hotel. Mm-hmm. Who is that people? It's the table. So after we've done that one, well, we kill someone inside of the hotel. Well, what are the consequences of that? And the third one, we find out there are different factions. All of them at least pay lip service to the same said table. You're no longer safe on consecrated ground once you've unconsecrated the ground by breaking the one rule. Everyone and anyone can fight.
I'm sorry I broke your one rule. Giant bat.
And if the rules are broken by the proprietor, then we deconsecrate the grounds and it's open season.
Yeah.
And then, if everyone really truly breaks the rules enough...
What have you done?
Yes.
Jonathan? What have you done?
It's the best line delivery in the whole series. Stand by that. We can condemn the building. We can join or leave a faction. We can have a marquee, which usually isn't... It's usually a title of nobility, not of job description, but whatever. Adjudicator was good because that was a name for a job description. But anyway, each time they upped the stakes, it didn't trample over what came before it. It built upon it. And I really appreciated that they didn't just raise the stakes. They didn't just make everything wider. There was a greater depth of detail each time, but not enough that was boring and totally expository. Like they had periods of exposition, but they really found a way to balance it. They never went too far with the exposition.
Yeah, that's fair, and like that is the I don't know that piece of it is probably what's most compelling in a action movie that has some of the best action sequences of any movie.
Absolutely.
It what?
I said absolutely.
It's crazy to me that the story, like the world building, is actually the thing that takes the cake.
Yeah.
Like, it should be the action. The action is the forefront of these movies. That's what the whole. I mean, it is a. This is a 2010 plus action movie. This is the genre they've created. It builds upon some of the action tropes that we've had from back in the day, and it makes it new again in a really wonderful way. However, it's this crazy ass world building. Like, it's like people want more of a story to go with that, and they've managed to work that in perfectly. And it's impressive. It's like that they've been able to do it for this long. But and like I said, while I appreciate that each thing doesn't negate some previous thing, it all does build on top of the previous, and it makes it feel like it has been there the whole time, which is a really good. The actual formula of doing that 4 times now is what I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, there's not much more you can really do to wow me at this point. Like, it wasn't. It's just like it's not going to really. I can't see it getting above a 7 following that same formula again and again going forward. I'm kind of glad that we've landed on that. His story is likely done.
Probably.
Probably.
What I also appreciate is, as much as we talked about the depth of detail of and the raising of the stakes of the world building, we got that in the action part as well. Like, those are the two things that carry it, right? So the first one we stabbed and shot and punched and kicked a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second one, we stabbed and shot and kicked and punched, and in much more graphic ways, and also we added pencils.
Sure.
And then in the third one,
so one of them had a lot of hatchets. I feel like
the third one had a lot of hatchets.
Okay.
The third one, we stabbed and kicked and punched and shot and hatcheted and penciled and dogged and also there was guys
12 Days of Christmas.
Yeah, there was guys with unbreakable body armor, except if you shot them in the eye or in under the helmet. And then in the fourth one, we stabbed and punched and kicked and shot and hatcheted and dogged and white phosphorus shotgunned and ran over with cars.
and car doored. We car doored a lot.
And staircases. So many staircases.
So many stairs.
And then we took it back to the beginning and used flintlock pistols.
Love it.
Because fuck you.
Exact basics. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. I have a stat here. So I feel like it was. I don't have the infographic for this movie. I think it was the previous one. Oh, we forgot horses. There was a lot of horse usage in the previous one, where he slapped the horse on the ass and it kicked somebody in the face.
Yes.
Great move. Great action addition. I really appreciate that. There was a beautifully done infographic for the third movie that had an icon that represented something. So it would be like a gun and then a number next to it. And then the icon was a various size based on how big the number was. And it was basically kills with thing. So like it was like guns were like pretty big, and then like knives were pretty big, and then like there'd be a little hatchet, and then it would get into the obscure. There'd be a pencil, and then there'd be a horse head. the horse head was larger than the pencil, obviously, because he used the horse multiple times. But it was just a very silly thing, and I love that. But for this one, I have stats that I think you'd like. Just one quick blurb. I think this came from the Morning Brew. I don't remember. I took it as a screenshot, so I apologize. I lost track of where it actually came from. But I'll just read it verbatim. John Wick is a man of focus, commitment, and sheer will, but very few words. The puppy-loving hitman, played by Keanu Reeves, says just 380 words in John Wick Chapter 4, despite the film's nearly 3-hour runtime, according to the Wall Street Journal. Reeves himself hacked the dialogue down, the film director said, and 27% of the 103 lines spoken by Wick in the final cut are a single word.
I had heard that in the production of the movie that he cut so much of the script, and it's like, man, that's incredible to get paid for so few words. But I guess it's his prerogative when you consider how much of these stunts and this fighting that he's doing himself at this age.
So many of his lines are just Yeah. Which is great. But it says if reports that the actor was paid $15 million to reprise the role are accurate, that's $39,473 a word.
Oh wow.
um, which I mean, good for him.
I also have statistics for you.
What do you got?
This is from Screen Rant. A helpful look at the breakdown of the first 3 movies via Geek Tyrant reveals that John Wick kill count in each movie.
Oh boy.
John Wick features 77 on-screen deaths at John's hand, a number that rose to 128 in John Wick Chapter 2, as John made some powerful enemies. John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum found John on the run with only time for 94 kills along the way. While this information shouldn't be all that surprising given the genre and plot of the movie, it's still a bit shocking to see that the protagonist single-handedly killed 128 people in one movie, making for 299 total in the first 3 films. John Wick kill count jumped even higher in John Wick Chapter 4. In the 4th movie, John Wick killed an estimated 140 enemies in the movie, all by himself. He went through several big events in this movie. The kills just kept building at an almost unnatural level. There were some very notable John Wick kills, such as when he went back to the desert and killed the Elder at the start, wrapping up that storyline for Parabellum. He then killed several people with assistance in the fight at the Osaka Continental Hotel in Tokyo, before heading to the Killer's nightclub for more carnage.
Oh my god.
This led to the infamous scene on the Arc de Triomphe where Wick started in his Barracuda before getting out and killing anyone who came at him. He fought to make it to his final battle. There was also the crane shot that saw John fight through the abandoned house and kill assassins who closed in on him. Finally, the biggest battle was the never-ending stairs to the soccer court in Paris. The scene had limitless assassins he had to fight.
Limitless. Oh man, I will say each movie. I feel like it's hard for me to remember the first 3 and which thing it was, but I do recall like within each movie there is a moment, there is a particular action sequence where you're like, this is this movie's scene. Like this is the thing that they crafted really well for this particular film, which I really liked. And in chapter 4, it was that overhead shot, the crane one that they're talking about, where it's basically a roofless set that the camera is swooping over, and you're able to see him go in and out of rooms, through doorways, blast through walls. It's Hotline Miami, but in John Wick, and it is one of the most entertaining sequences in a movie that I've seen in a very long time.
The way that you know it's such a fantastic scene is he sees this truly unique weapon. It's the shotgun with the white phosphorus shells. Every time he shoots someone with it, I kind of tensed each time because I'm like, ooh, ooh. Yeah. I was like, man, every one of these, I feel like I'm the one getting shot by this fucking thing every time he pulls the trigger. And not only are you tensing as you see it happen, but half the times you see the actual result of it, I'm laughing. I was like guffawing at, oh God, look at what he did to that one.
Yes. I love it. I love the absurdity. Like that was absolutely ridiculous. And like from the moment, like he was almost giddy from the first person he kills with it. He's like, you can tell he was like, ooh, like,
look at this fun toy.
This one works really well. That was really great. I will say we talked about like how they build on the world in each one. They're pretty consistent with the mechanics as well. Like everybody has these suits, right? These Kevlar
like
suits,
threaded suits, yeah.
Yeah, which I really appreciate that in every single fight sequence, every one, there isn't one that's missed. He pulls the suit over his face.
Yeah,
while he's running.
It's really funny actually how he does it, where he pulls it up in this dramatic way. That's like that can't work, and yet it also makes sense that it works.
But the way that he does it, what's crazy is it should be outlandish and ridiculous. However, I guess maybe with a lot of, I know he has a lot of like training. What do they call that? What they run through the course and they shoot. But Keanu Reeves does a lot of that stuff.
Oh
right?
yeah. I'm kind of blanking on the word too, but yeah.
Something about the way that he holds the jacket. It's not just covering his face with it, but the way that he does it, it feels so realistic and tactical. Like it feels very much like the way that he rapidly reloads, or like while keeping everything trained on the coming threat. Like he's very good at managing like, you know, he's doing some pretty intense combat work with those weapons. But like, on top of that, he layers in this ridiculous thing that is not real that makes it, but it looks real. Like
Yes.
it looks like this is how you would like.
It makes sense.
If I did have a suit that could protect me from bullets,
That's how I would use it.
This is how I would use it, and it looks great. That being said, many times throughout this movie, I was like, but like every bone in your body's broken, right? Because it doesn't prevent the force from actually connecting with you.
If he if he was wearing it normal and it hits, it would bruise him. But if he was dangling it in front of his face, a lot of that kinetic energy would be lost, and it would kind of not that it would ricochet off, but it would be kind of redirected. Like the bullet likely wouldn't hit him directly.
Okay. I guess.
There's a certain tensile strength that one would expect a Kevlar threaded suit to have, that if he's dangling it would waste some of the kinetic energy of the bullet.
I used to have a Kevlar snare drum skin.
That seems excessive.
Yeah, it was great. It sounded awesome. Anyway, but you get this ridiculous tactical thing that he and other characters are doing it too, which is awesome.
Yes.
Like just to remind you, like, no, like this is not just his suit. Like this world of assassins have this suit, which makes it really funny when he comes up against one particular enemy and he doesn't have the thing that he needs to be able to get, like, whether it is like under their neckline or the thing that he needs access to take them down, and he doesn't have it, and the battle just goes on forever. It's so funny. It's comical,
yes.
But like it's also exciting action movie stuff.
Some of these fights have kind of a wink and nod, Family Guy too long joke cadence to them.
Oh my god, the nunchucks, like, they're not the tool for this job.
I forgot about nunchucks, but that was a fantastic scene.
But he's fighting these same two people for what feels like 30 minutes.
Well, because he's just whipping their entire ass with it. I love how between each engagement, he would dangle the nunchucks like a necklace.
Yes, he would just wear them.
And then go back to literally whipping their ass with this.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because the whole thing is for him to kill as efficiently as possible. And I'm sure you can whip a whole lot of ass with nunchucks, but it's not great for killing, actually.
No, not the best.
Also, I appreciated the introduction of a lot of bows and arrows for one sequence of this movie.
Yeah.
Considering how high-tech some of this killing is, to go super low-tech with the bows and arrows, I appreciated that.
Respect.
And in a way that, like, the whole army of them did not feel in any way, shape, or form like they were overmatched. Like, no, it's fine. We have bows and arrows. It'll be fine.
That was ridiculous. Oh man. But the bows and arrows against the Kevlar suits. Donnie Yen.
Yes.
Okay. Kane. The character Kane. So we talked about the ridiculousness of John and how he leverages the Kevlar suit. I think maybe one of the most outrageous parts of this movie was using motion sensor doorbells in a fight.
I loved it.
It was great, but it was outrageous. Also, he has this sort of... Did you ever watch Drunken Master?
No, but I'm aware of it.
He has... His movement has a very, like, drunken style fighting to it.
That was... Drunken Master was one of the key points of emphasis for the Jar Jar Binks, the Darth Jar Jar theory, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. Or you're not familiar with the Darth Jar Jar theory?
I'm vaguely familiar with it, but I don't know the details, the depths.
The theory was that Jar Jar was so prominent in the first one because ultimately we were going to find out that he was essentially what the Plagueis character that they talked about in episode 3 was.
Okay.
That he was the true one orchestrating everything behind the scenes, because he's so uncoordinated and everything goes so perfectly
that he can't possibly be. Yeah.
Yeah, that he put up such a foolish character to dissuade anyone from looking too closely at him, but that he ultimately, if you squint, the tactics were very similar to Drunken Master, like that through persistence and trust in the. I mean, sorry, through through the Force and in the perfect timing of his ridiculous histrionics, that no one could possibly think it was anything other than luck. But the amount of luck that he displays seems a bit too calculated. It seems too
sure. Yeah,
the Drunken Master was one of the things cited in that.
That's pretty cool. I like that. But back to the style, though. The fluidity of his movement that also feels chaotic works really well because he's blind, and like how he is moving based on sound and vibration.
Donnie Yen, tremendous blind assassin.
He absolutely kills it.
Yeah. Well, he killed a lot of people.
Indeed.
Between this movie and Rogue One, though, I mean, he's really cornered the market on playing blind assassins who fight with a stick.
It's true. It's true. That I mean, if you're going to hire a guy for that job, there he is. Yeah, Donnie Yen, all the way.
I appreciate his. I mean, I thought he showed some nice range in Rogue One and this as well. He's a good actor on top of being a fantastic martial artist. I mean, I had no impression of him before seeing Rogue One, other than having seen clips of him doing martial arts. But there's some range. There's some empathy there in that performance. More so, I would say, in Rogue One than this one. But like you buy him being a tortured soul here, where he's gonna kill the shit out of a whole bunch of people, but is like, it first comes off as arrogant, and then you see the exhaustion. Like he's John's parallel, right? He wants to be out. He envied John for getting out, and he almost mocks John for coming back in. Like, look at me. Why would you want to be like me? I want to be out more than anything. You had your chance to be out, and you came back. Like, I want nothing more than to be out, and I can't get out.
Yeah.
I mean, he's blind. Let him rest. Let him be out.
He's so annoyed when he has to take the job, and I love it.
He's so annoyed at every step. He's so annoyed he has to take the job. He's so annoyed he has to do the job when he's eating the noodles, and he's like,
he's so annoyed. Yeah, he's so annoyed.
Do your job.
He can't just finish his soup.
He's so annoyed that he has to kill his friend, his former friend. He's so annoyed that he knows his former friend, who he's just killed's daughter, is going to try and come kill him.
Yeah.
He's so annoyed that he has to continue to hunt his son or his friend. He's so annoyed that this guy has maneuvered him into a position where he either has to kill his friend or him and his daughter die.
Yeah. Oh, man. There's so much. There's like, it's almost annoying how much depth there is to characters in this ridiculous movie.
Yeah. There's no reason. It should be these should be B movies. I mean, you could probably conceivably argue the first one is a B movie. The second, third, and fourth one, not B movies. They're A movies. No. They should be B movies. They're not. They're better.
They're not.
They shouldn't be this good. The director was a former stunt coordinator. He doesn't have a background in discipline in directing. He's perfect for directing these movies. I don't know if he can direct The English Patient, but he can direct the shit out of these movies.
Yeah, that's true. Man, it's so good. The Bowery King.
Yeah.
In a movie that is so over the top.
He's the most over the top.
How do you stand out as being the one that is over the top?
Everyone is over the top, and he's so far above the people over the top that you can't even see the top.
That's right. There's I used to listen to this podcast called Hollywood Babylon, and it was Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman, and they would do a section called I think it was called Bad Acting or something along the lines, but it was acting that is so bad that it transcends bad and turns around and becomes good again. And that is this performance.
Yeah, because Lawrence Fishburne is a really good actor.
Yeah.
And you could argue that he's so cheesy in this, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's intentionally doing way too much. And he's gone so far around of doing too much that he's doing just enough now.
He's so ridiculous. I He has a boat. He's everywhere at once. He delivers his lines at an octave that is not registered by any other person in the movie. It's just too much.
This is such a like a stupid inside reference, but the way that he's just shouting when everyone else is talking very businesslike and kind of almost half under their breath like this. He's delivering like this. It reminded me of in Mass Effect 2. The Jennifer Hale voices the female version of Commander Shepard. And her lines during most cutscenes, she has a very, not monotone, but she has this very calculated, controlled voice. And she can bring it up a little bit, and then she'll bring it down a little bit, but she's very... And then at the end of missions, you get a little mission report text screen that dictated... It was an in-game thing that the character who was supposed to be your lieutenant in this was writing back to the boss. And like you would get a little breakdown of what happened and all that, and like her perception of where everything stands at the end of it. And you would usually get some sort of reward at the end of that mission. And all of a sudden you would hear in the commander's voice, whether it be the male or the female character, you'd hear, "Oh, what's this?" or "That's interesting," or "This could be useful." But for some reason, the sound mixing was so bad that whenever her line would be played at the end over the top of that, she was like screaming it at a 13 out of 10. And I was like, where the fuck did that come from? I don't have eardrums anymore. And that's what his line delivery is in this movie, in scenes where everyone else is talking very seriously. Like John Wick is saying one word.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Winston is doing his ridiculous Ian McShane delivery, and then you have Lawrence Fishburne screaming at them.
Yeah. Even to be John Wick's, Barrick thing is like, "You ready, John?"
It's like, Jesus Christ. Maybe he just knows how many times John has shot and been shot at, and he knows that he's got permanent tinnitus. He's got permanent tinnitus, and he's like, "I'm thinking of you, buddy. You need me to yell for you to hear me."
Really, really taking the character in, really understanding the world. People would not be able to hear me because they've shot guns so many times that I need to yell. And now I think that Lawrence Fishburne just assumed that he's on stage, because I assume that he has done stage acting based on the way that he performs. I'm just thinking that maybe in his mind, he's not mic'd. Meanwhile, the sound mixing guy's like, "Shut the So good. Lance Reddick. Let's focus in for a second.
We never got to talk
Rest
about
in peace.
that.
We didn't. I think we missed that week, and we never really came. We might have like briefly touched on it, but tremendous loss. Another great actor. The role that he played. This is like one of those roles where it's like a supporting actor role. Like sometimes they really it's actually really stand out. His support role, like he's not on the screen much in these movies, but when he is, he's it. Like
I was a little heartbroken because knowing that he was dead. Man, I know you never watched The Wire. I love The Wire. He's fantastic in that. And he's one of the core ensemble from start to finish. Like, there's some seasons that he's in it more or less.
Okay.
But he has a substantial amount of screen time in that show. And I loved him in Corporate. He was so ridiculous. So malevolent CEO. Like, oh my God, just hilarious. Terrible person. And so I appreciated that, from the first movie to the third movie, he kind of got a little more screen time. And I thought we were going to get some time to savor his final performance. To have him killed so soon in the movie, oh, that hurt me.
Yeah, and what a weird and eerie parallel,
Yeah.
right? That one, it definitely, I mean, like, the news took me by surprise, and then the moment in the movie took me by surprise just as much. I was like, what the fuck?
I
I was
mean,
like,
there was some foreshadowing there, but you still didn't really think anyone was going to die there.
yeah, exactly. I also, it did end up leading to one of the better conversations of Ian McShane's character, like, I don't know what to put, or Winston, I don't know what to put in this tombstone. I spent so much time thinking about that, and like, what do you want? What would you want to put on yours? I love that eventually John is like loving husband. Like, I just thought that was so, like, how fitting to like really put a bow on this entire adventure that we've gone on. Which the first three movies are a couple days.
The first three movies, like, literally takes place under a week. Yeah.
Okay,
And there's like a clear time jump
he has a little healing time.
from the end of the third one to this one. Yeah. There's clearly probably a few months, I would say.
Yeah. Anyway.
Which is good because he needed that energy to do all of this. He got hit by so many cars.
Yeah, he really did.
He fell down so many stairs.
Oh my god! Like, early in the movie, isn't he like, I forget, he like jumps out a window and lands on a car, right?
Did he? I actually
Fairly early in this movie, he does something ridiculous. So I'm like, well, now he's going to be hurt the rest of the movie. But they're like, well, we can't have him be hurt the rest of the movie, so we're just going to brush that off. Which I was like, carry on, no further questions. Yeah. Clancy Brown is a fucking creep show. Sorry, I'm just going through the cast list.
Mhm.
I can no longer look at this character. He's so strange. His character is so creepy in Dexter that
I still never finished that season.
I just like, that's what I see when I see him here. Also, he's too close to the table. The Harbinger is his name in this movie.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. I remember looking that up, and
Characters have interesting names.
I love these ridiculous names that he has. I don't know. He's great at projecting "fuck you" authority, though.
Yeah, definitely.
And this was a more refined version of that. But consider him being the chief of the guards in Shawshank, just pure "fuck you" authority. There's, I know I've seen him in a couple other things where he's just had this like air of, like, you should fear this guy, and it's for no other reason than he hates your guts because you exist. Like, there's not any rhyme or reason to it other than that you exist. He has an element of that here, but he's there's just a more refined aspect to it, I think.
Yeah.
It's not just the suit. It's the fact that he's got all the erudition. He's just flat out, he's wearing the scarf and he's chanting in Latin in the end, and it's like, okay, there's a little something there. This is an interesting character. I almost wish I could see a little bit more of this character just for that. I do have, I feel like typically he plays more villainous type of roles. Even Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob, he's kind of, it's a love-hate relationship with that character. But I appreciated there's one role that I saw him in where he's not just a raging prick. And it's a very small, random thing. In Mass Effect Andromeda, he plays the player character's father, who, spoiler alert, dies in the first 30 minutes of the game, of like 100+ hour game. But you get a bunch of flashbacks with him, and I appreciated seeing a different side of a character that he could play, because he always plays someone that you want to hate. And it was a much more complicated character, and ultimately he's a loving father, even if he doesn't know how to express that. Yeah. I don't know. There was an aspect of that performance in that I appreciate. He's done a ton of voice work, but even this, like, he plays kind of a prick the whole time. Again, like a more refined version of it. But to see the end, I appreciated that at the end of all of that, like, he kind of breaks the rules, and it's an element of, okay, can we, like, he's almost the voice of reason. Does anyone else care how ridiculous this all is? Like, there have been literally hundreds of people who have died at the expense of trying to prove a point about John, I guess. And it's like, every one of these people who have gone after him with this, like, verdant passion is like, has been hoisted by their own petard. Can we just call it at this point? Can we just call it? Like, he's paid his debt. He could live, he could die. He's probably going to die, but maybe he'll survive. It's done. John, it's done. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
All you guys, just, I don't want to see or hear about this anymore. The table has wasted so much money and manpower on all of this. Enough. Just enough.
It's so true. I love it. Going down the list, Ian McShane's Winston, fan favorite. We love him. You love him. Tremendous performance. One of the better line deliverers in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Like I said, I think we're in agreement, right? That the best line delivery in this is Jonathan. What have you done?
He also has a similar condition that Willem Dafoe has, where he appears to be wearing a face.
Ian McShane's face looks like Ian McShane is wearing Ian McShane's face.
Exactly. I don't know, man.
It's the theory of, is it better to be 30 and then look like you're 60 so that when you're 60 you still look like you're 60, or to have been 30 and be looking young and youthful and then to age terribly so that when you're 60 you look like you're 80? You know what I mean? Like, what's the better path?
Hard to say. I will say, I feel like the highest credit you can give an actor is that I truly believe in the relationship that they are pretending to have on screen. And I truly believe that Winston is a father figure to John.
Yeah.
And like, it's their relationship is so good. And their understanding is so pure.
It would hurt you to find out in real life that, like, if Ian McShane hated Keanu Reeves.
Oh my God, it would, yeah.
Because
it would ruin me.
The characters on screen, he so obviously loves this man.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like anytime I feel this way about an actor, I'm like, oh, this person's so good in this thing. And then they're like, this person touched people. I'm like, fuck. Like, stop doing that.
Stop doing that.
Why are you... I'm not saying this happened here. I'm just saying that I'm worried now that I said out loud that I love Ian McShane.
Yeah.
That, like, we're talking, a story's coming
This is a follow-up to our conversation the other day.
Yeah.
Not about Ian McShane, about other people.
No, other people indeed. I'm gonna skip Marco Zaror Chidi. Who is that? Is that the Marquis, like, top guy? Top.
Yes, that's him.
Okay. He's fine. Largely forgettable. No fault to him. No, just like the character.
Disagree. Not forgettable.
Yeah?
He was the Terminator.
The Terminator.
They killed him like 10 times. He just had one of
those suits.
They killed him 10 times and he kept coming back.
I wouldn't say he's the Terminator as much as he is the bad guy in Die Hard. The blonde guy with that gets hung.
No, he's the Terminator. They keep killing him and he keeps coming back.
They ultimately finished him off though, right? I don't remember what.
Did they?
I don't know.
They did.
Okay. What was it?
Did they?
Didn't they just, like, leave him on the stairs? Did he? I think he gave up.
Did he finally give up?
I feel like he gave up. I feel like I don't remember them finally killing him.
Well, he says, you can't kill me. And then he's like, yeah, but I can, whatever. And he, like, trips him and cuts him and something. Oh, the dog. The tracker sets the dog on him. I think the dog finally finished him, and the dog finally finished him off. Because he shot the dog and like, John, or tried to. No, he threw the dog in front of the car. He was going to shoot it. John, that's what gets the tracker to stop hunting John, was that John wastes his shot to try and kill him and save the dog. And so the dog bites his junk and the tracker kills him. That's how it ended.
Yeah. Good call. That's right.
Took me a second.
Billy Scars.
Yeah, I mean, he's ridiculous. He's a really good actor.
He is. They all are. He is really good. I mean, he plays an absolute fucking dweeb in this movie, but, like, intentionally so.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
well, I feel like
dweeb with power.
to be honest, like he kind of always plays a bit of like even like Pennywise is a dweeb, right? Like he's like a
This is a dweeb.
murderous,
Yeah.
psychotic,
Dweeb.
supernatural clown, but like he's a dweeb.
Yeah. Hot take, probably never spoken before. Pennywise is a dweeb, right?
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. You're not wrong. But yeah, like I love honestly, maybe I think the best parts of his performance are when he's on the phone with the tracker. Like that back and forth is so good.
Yes, fantastic, like antagonistic relationship where you can never tell where they stand exactly, where each of them thinks they have the upper hand and then the other one ends up with it somehow.
Yeah. It's so good.
And ending with him destroying the shit out of the phone and then being like, call back and tell him we'll give it to him.
Yep. So good.
But even like when they first meet up, when him and the tracker first have the face to face, and you think that conversation is going to go a certain way, and then the tracker overplays his hand.
Yep.
And then ends up almost losing his hand.
His hand. Yeah, that's so good.
I was like, going back even like Bill Skarsgård was even good in. You remember Atomic Blonde?
I remember that I saw Atomic Blonde.
Did we do that for the show, or was that right before the show started?
Unclear. No one knows.
This is the first time where I'm actually not 100% sure if we did that episode or not. We've talked about it a couple times, like, oh, we're going to get to a point where we don't remember if we did. Like, that's probably like episode 6.
I feel like we did it.
Yeah. He was in that. He was the contact in East Berlin that she has, that when they're doing the whole spy game shit, that she, like, you don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
And the person you think you could trust ends up being the one you can't, and he was the one you didn't think you could trust, and he's actually trying to do good and like is part of the whole underground network and all that. Like he was even good in that, even though it wasn't like a huge role. It was the first time I think I saw him in anything.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what my introduction to him. I mean, it may have been that.
I'm pretty sure it's that. I know he was on that one. Was it an MTV show? Some sort of supernatural show where it was like kind of like a wolfman and all that sort of like characters. And I saw a clip from that show. I don't remember what it's called.
Scrolling. Yeah, it would appear that Atomic Blonde is the first thing that I know him from.
Yeah.
Then Deadpool 2?
Yeah, I don't remember him that. I was looking at this.
Zeitgeist? I think he's probably one of the montage of people that get recruited and killed within minutes.
Oh. I forgot he was in The Devil All the Time. Garbage movie that was. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you, but
Eternals.
Hemlock Grove, that was the show I was thinking of.
I know he in the Eternals.
I never watched it. Oh, he did a voice. I saw that in like the show I was talking about was Hemlock Grove.
Yeah.
I never saw it, but I saw like a clip of it once or twice, and he was in it. It was a ridiculous fight scene. I was like, what the hell is this show?
I love. It's funny. My favorite scene with the dweeb is because of Ian McShane, and it's the end during the duel where Winston is just so happy. He's just like, ha ha ha, you arrogant prick. Like what I forget what he actually.
Well, he definitely said arrogant. I think it's you arrogant bastard or something.
You arrogant bastard. It's so good. It was just so good. You can't shoot the gun. It's his turn. And it's like, bang. And I was like, what a fitting ending to this ridiculousness.
And what a piece of shit. Like, he like launched all of this shit. Like, you know, he's the face that launched 1,000 hitmen. And he gets challenged to a duel, pawns it off.
Yeah.
And then after all that, like, Gidley's like, I claim the right to the coup de grace. Like, I'm going to kill him off. Now that he's dead, he can't hurt me. And it's like, no, fuck you. If you wanted to kill him, you should have fought him yourself.
Classic dweeb move.
Yes. He definitely was given atomic wedgies when he was younger.
Definitely. Granted, he probably said assassins after all those people, but
sure,
that's neither here nor there. Donnie Yen, we already talked about. Tremendous performance.
Hiroyuki
I love
Sanada.
what's that?
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Hiroyuki, yeah. What was he?
Bullet Train.
He's so familiar. What did you say?
Bullet Train.
Bullet Train. He's the grandfather, right?
Yes.
But what? I feel like even that. Oh, Mortal Kombat. He was Scorpion.
Yes.
Okay. He was.
Yeah, but you only see his face really in that opening scene.
In Avengers Endgame.
Who was he in that?
Kihiko. I don't know.
Oh, with the scene where Jeremy Renner at the beginning when he
Oh, okay.
when he kills all those Yakuza. So he's
Yeah.
only in screen.
He was in the Wolverine.
Yes, I only
Rush
saw parts
Hour
of the movie.
3.
Yeah, he
Okay,
plays
now we're getting
Jackie
into
Chan's half brother or adopted brother, whatever it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Another really great performance. Like another entire level of world building of it's like layering in some tradition with like some cultural traditions on top of the fact that he's also part of this assassin's group. Like there's just some, or well, you know, he owns one of the hotels, but like I don't know. There's something. He fits so well in it, and it feels like he's been in this world for a really long time.
Well, also, I think he stumbled upon this really cool type of character between this and Bullet Train. They're almost kind of mirror images of each other. Where in Bullet Train, he plays this former Yakuza boss that you find out kind of not almost say has a heart of gold, but like that has a human side to him. Like and like he really embodies that whole like samurai code of honor thing, and it's like, okay, yeah, I will kill you, but like it's not the only way. And this one, you almost get the opposite side of that, where you're presented, yes, he's very CEO like, but you're presented with this deep wisdom, the front side of it, and then he's willing to go kill and do what he's got to do. I like that warrior monk role for him. He has a way to both convey the stern and the badass, but still show the more philosophical, empathetic side as well. That range within that type of character to be able to hold those dualities together.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, there's something interesting about like he's got like this respect for the rules and everything, but there's a higher respect for the bonds forged in friendship and family. Like and like how that plays out. It's like it's its own entire movie.
Yeah,
that
whole like 20-minute section of the movie is almost carved off into its own thing.
And it's great, really well done. Just before that, that actor, it was Amy Kwan.
Is that the one who played his daughter?
I think no.
That's Donnie Yen's daughter. Sorry,
that's Donnie Yen's daughter. So I don't know what the ordering of the casting because she's like Barrett. Like I think we see her face.
Rina
twice,
Sawayama
right?
that plays that was the
yes, and that was a cool. I feel like that was a really cool storyline because it's like we're gonna give you a small amount of focus on a character that is affected by this world outside of like these nameless assassins that we're just gonna murder on screen. And ultimately, it leads into obviously a post-credit scene where this character comes into play, and it's clear that there could be some sort of maybe even spin-off if they decide to.
Yeah,
with that still remains within the world.
They definitely left some options there,
and I think that's cool. And I think that the character's cool, and like the character's pain and struggle, and like God, like Dad, why are you making this stupid choice? Like he is going to get us all in trouble because he's like, and like the father trying to like teach a lesson about like friendship and
well, what was great was that
honor.
They're both right, and that they both taught each other something at the same time, right? Like she's right, he's bad news. They all end up dying, basically.
Yeah,
and he's also right that sometimes the rules are less important than, like you said, the bonds that are written, that there are things worth dying for that but like maybe don't make sense from the outside.
Just us talking about this, though, like the random levels of depth that this movie has, that like why?
Yeah, there's no reason for it.
It's great. I'm glad that it does, but like, holy cow!
Yeah,
It's absolutely
I thought she
ridiculous.
did a good job of. I didn't expect much from the character early on. I thought she was going to be a throwaway character, and to find out she was going to be important, like because you just think, oh, like she's just like the hostess of the hotel. It's like,
Right.
oh no, she's not just the hostess; she's the daughter and the right hand, control person. And
Yeah.
to find out how important the two of them are to each other, that line about the whole thing. Oh, you have dinner with your daughter, or whatever. Tell my daughter that I'd be happy to have dinner with her, and her smile, like that was a really cool sequence.
Yeah, I liked that a lot
because you see the whole range of them fighting and making up and all that, and the whole thing at the end with where she's willing to help John despite her personal opinion, and then the whole thing with Donnie and trying to tell her like, no, don't. I didn't want to kill your dad. I especially don't want to kill you. Like, don't do this. Like, another time if you must.
Yeah.
It was almost kind of like the scene from Kill Bill when she kills Vivica A. Fox and the daughter comes in and she says, 20 years from now you're gonna want to come track me down and find me, and this is my name, and I understand, but like it wasn't personal. That whole. It's like that same like.
I know of it.
Oh.
Yeah, as long as we've been doing the show, I still have not seen it.
So you've seen all of the Quentin Tarantino movies that aren't Kill Bill, and I've seen Kill Bill.
That's right. That's right. It's so funny. It's so weird to me that I feel like it's like one of those weird ones where like I missed the train. Like I could watch it at some.
There's literally no one stopping you.
Would very much enjoy it, but for whatever reason, like I never find myself in the situation where like, oh, I'm going to put Kill Bill on. Like it doesn't happen.
I mean, you should.
I'm sure
those two
sure
movies together. I know technically, like in his parlance, it's one movie.
It's one movie,
2 parts, which is fine. But they're two distinct movies that are inexorably like linked together, and I find it hard saying like which one I prefer because I like certain aspects of one and certain aspects of the other.
Sure.
Like I don't know. It's an interesting experience. Whatever. I didn't mean to go off on that whole tangent.
No, that's great. I'll check it out for sure eventually.
Fun fact on was it Rina Sawayama? I remember looking her up after because I was like, oh, she seemed vaguely familiar. I don't know why, and actually I don't know that I recognize her, but apparently she's a pop star. This was her first like major acting role.
Okay, I was gonna say like she looked familiar.
Yes, I don't know if maybe I've seen her and not like registered that that's who it was, but yeah, apparently she's some sort of pop star. I don't know any of her music, but
yeah, I don't. None of this is like something that
she's like a Japanese British pop star. So
cool. Moving on to Shamir Anderson as Tracker, an interesting character, a little bit of a background player for this movie. I mean, like pops up at just the right times to like maybe change fate slightly, which is kind of cool. But like kind of just this little wild card that is there throughout. And I think that's an interesting character to have. It maybe not as fleshed out as the rest of the characters or storylines. Like, and I don't quite know why that one feels like it's lacking in writing.
It's tough. Is it a feature or a bug? Because
I don't know. Yeah,
they kept trying to pull information out of him, and he keeps actively denying them that information.
Yeah.
But what's your name? I don't have
nobody.
Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? I'm just here. I'm doing my thing.
I'm nobody.
Like,
yeah.
I'm nobody. It's like, oh, okay, like that's cute. Like, it's mostly annoying. It's gonna probably get you killed because someone's just gonna read that the wrong way. And it's like, and like he clearly has skills, and I appreciate some of his little gadgets. That backpack thing that turns into the like
cool.
flexible suit of armor thing was cool.
Yeah.
The dog was great. That dog kicked ass and could take a beating because like it gets hit by a car, it gets tossed around a couple times, and it keeps coming back. So
yeah.
But I appreciated that storyline. I love that he's like alternating between hunting John and helping John and hunting John and helping John. The weird 3-way alliance that's not really alliance in the club in Germany was fantastic with all 3 of them together.
That was great. That whole sequence was so much fun.
Yeah.
So much nonsense.
What was funny was watching that on Saturday night and being like, this reminds me of the penguin scene in the Batman. And then watching the Batman the next day, like, and there was no, like, that was not what led me to like think about watching that movie. Watching it, that scene again, I was like, yeah, no, they cribbed off this scene pretty directly. Like, it's almost exactly what that was in the Batman.
Yeah. Yeah,
Except like even more ridiculous and over the top with the action.
it was so ridiculous. The whole I loved the ridiculousness of the card game. What was it, 5 2s?
Yeah.
It's like, just shut up. You say it reminds you of the Batman. It reminded me a little bit of, probably because like the combination of Keanu Reeves and the setting and like the absurdity of the situation, but like the Merovingian and
I was saying Matrix too, yeah.
yeah, that they definitely got that vibe. But it was really fun. Like, I love that scene. It's kind of throwaway, that particular chunk of movie is not necessary really at all. It's just like let's do one more. Let's do one more weird thing, because at the end of the day, it's a side quest.
It is. And the fight with him is so ridiculous because like he's way more athletic and talented than someone as fat as him should be.
Mm-hmm.
But then the way that they end up finally killing him, like he's like a total tank. But then like like how shocking the end of that fight was with him going off the stairs and breaking his neck, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I audibly went, oh, at that scene, which is like in a movie where like a bajillion people die in ridiculous ways. For that one is the one that got an audible reaction from.
Yeah, the worst neck snap since Deus.
No. Oh, I haven't thought about it in a while.
I know.
I don't like it.
Every once in a while, I remind me, and it makes me uncomfortable too.
I used to have this figurine. Actually, I think it was a Michelangelo figurine, the Ninja Turtle, and you can pop off the limbs, and like so that it looked like the turtle like had gotten into the shell. Like you could pop the pieces off. But the sound
yeah.
of the limb.
What was worse, me evoking?
Oh, I don't feel good.
That scene from Deus, or the time that I PTSD triggered quicksand from the Jungle Book for you? Which one was worse?
You know, I'm not sure. The quicksand one sticks with me in a very unsettling way. Like I don't know, you get stuck in oil at some point in Jedi Survivor, and you're like wading through it, and I'm panicking. Like it's just very.
So that's the thing, is I think the Deus neck snap is more visceral, but I think for how many layers that you buried the quicksand under was more shocking.
That's the thing. Had I seen the Deus neck snap at the same time that I saw the quicksand thing, I think it might be a very different story. But
yeah,
it didn't. And it's alarming. That version of the Jungle Book, I'm pretty sure, is on HBO Max, and I feel like I should watch it.
I think it's on HBO Max. You're right. I think it was on regular HBO. I think I turned on the TV like 6 months ago, and it was just on. And I caught like 10 minutes of the movie. I was like, huh. I forgot about the scene where he's running through the streets and he climbed a snake like 50 feet in the air.
I feel like that's like one of those random ones where I literally I don't remember anything except the quicksand. But if I were to watch the movie, it would flood back, I think.
Sam Neill is Lena Headey's dad.
Okay.
Jason Fleming is some random dude in that movie, because he's always some random dude. Cary Elwes is the bad guy.
Okay. I kind of want to watch it now.
There are monkeys?
Oh my god. So we went to the zoo. So this is just a random story. We went to the zoo on Monday for my birthday. I took Elio for the first time. He hasn't been to the zoo before.
Okay.
There were three key takeaways from the zoo. One, the donkey that he saw. He's currently loves donkeys. He's got a book. There's a donkey in the book. He sees donkey. He goes zoo. He's very excited. Two, there were monkeys that were showing off. They were like, they had like in their giant cage, they had like actual like scaffolding, and they were doing some really bananas, like flying around, like zipping,
No.
No, they were. All right, they were zipping around.
They were doing bananas. Come on.
They were doing
bananas moves.
Bananas.
Oh yeah, the monkeys were doing bananas moves.
They were swinging around from thing to thing, but they were really hot. It was like super cool. It was like I could have watched it for hours. They were. I was gonna say they were bananas again. They were crazy. And it was really cool. But his takeaway from that was, which he has repeated every day since, like at a random time, well, he'll be like, monkeys fly, because they look like they really, I mean, like the way they were like majestically swinging around, but like they would release and they would have like a ridiculous hang time before grabbing the next thing where it looked like they were flying. So that was a big takeaway for him, and also he fed a giraffe and he's pumped about it.
Okay, I can see that.
It was a good time. It's a good time for all. Anyway, back to the movie. Who else do we have? So we talked about the neck snap. I think we've covered all characters.
Yeah.
Right at this point.
Pretty much, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, the staircase scene, that was another audible moment for me where I was just like, oh, come on. Like when he went down the steps all the way down, I was like, really? And then again. And then again. I was like, this is just wrong. I was like, I can't deal with this.
Well, I started laughing because I was like, I understand it's a movie and they're doing this for emphasis, but like at the end of any one of those flights of stairs, his momentum should end. And he's very clearly
throwing himself.
In this case, we're talking about the stunt double. He's very obviously throwing himself down the next flight of stairs.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Maybe the one problem that I have, and I guess it's actually acceptable, like they could have sorted this out somehow. There's definitely time off screen where they could have sorted this out, but the plan, clearly John and Kane coordinated around the hopes that douchebag is going to want to take the final shot so that they can get out of it, both because he says, like, maybe there's another way. He does say that at one point. So I'm assuming that there's a conversation that happens in between of, here's one play that we can make. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Like that, I'm guessing like they have some coordination at some point off screen. Is that your takeaway?
Yeah. Well, so I don't think it was the plan all along, but it was certainly the plan when they were walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
And to sell it, because I was actually confused at the beginning. When he stabs him, I was like, oh, like that was petty. But it was to sell the whole thing with them. Like, John, he's a blind
He killed
assassin.
147 people. If he was using his strong hand, he would have one-shotted Kane.
No, not only that, but like Kane is a phenomenal assassin, but realistically, he can't be a sniper blind. He can't be. Like, he can fight in close quarters, but he can't be an assassin from 30 paces. Like, it's not feasible. So you need to sell that John has to shoot with his offhand, because if he shoots with his on-hand, he wins in the first round.
Yeah.
So it's clearly coordinated. Yeah. Because it's the only way that Kane can honor his friend and protect himself and his daughter. Mostly his daughter.
Right.
Because the only way this story ends, the only way that he gets out is the Marquis dying. Because he knows he's going to backstab him. He knows that even if he lets him live and lets his daughter live, he's going to continue to hold it over him.
Yeah. It's it's crazy to me that at the end of not crazy to me. It's cool. I'm okay with it, I guess. But at the end of all this, John never makes his way to the table, right? Like he's always dealing with like the stuff in between, which is fun and interesting in itself. I do wonder if they are to explore that post credit scene and dive a little bit deeper, if that character Akira gets to the table at some point in
Mhm.
like some revenge plot to a degree. Um, that would also be fine. I just don't know how if they'll actually take it to the next level or if that was just like a nice little tease at the end for just the effect.
I think it was meant to
Um,
close the loop to whatever extent, and also to leave open with ambiguity, to leave open that there could be more to the story if they want down the line.
yeah. Do you and they show John pass away on the steps, pass out, I should say, on the steps, and then they cut to his tombstone that does say "loving husband," which I thought was a nice touch. Um, in your mind, did he die?
I honestly don't know because they did all
Yeah.
the things that should convince you that he did die, but they also
Hmm.
left enough ambiguity that he wouldn't necessarily be. I would read it as he died because there's a lot of symbolism with the whole thing. He chooses to have the fight in front of Sakura, the Church of the Sacred Heart. They have the whole duel. He has that cool line when he's talking about there's men who cling to death who live, and there are men who cling to life who die.
Hmm.
And the talk about who's fighting for what here. Kane is still fighting for something, and John, at this point, he's been fighting for spite. He's been
Yeah.
fighting for rage, and pain, and all that. He wants to go out on his own terms, and if his terms are he gets to kill the Marquis and free his
Yeah.
friends, because Kane's life and Winston's life hang in the balance.
And he
That's a
dies
good
free of the table.
that's a good death, and it's on his
Yeah.
terms.
Yeah.
But
But they could very much do the Dark Knight Returns. This would be a good death, but not good enough.
well,
And
absolutely, and
if
he
they
has the whole
wanted to.
thing where he says, "Take me home," which
Yeah.
even that's ambiguous. Is it just like this is done and I can go live? Well, what does he have to live for? Or take me back and bury me next to my wife with the sign off that I chose finally. And
Yeah.
he has the kind of the image of the light, and you see he basically he sees his wife before he passes out. So what's the difference? He's more than likely dead. They left enough here where you should probably conclude that he's died. And it's time. He
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to live for. He has the dog, which would be great, but like it's not enough really.
Hmm.
And the dog ends up with a good home. Like you feel like the Bowery Kings would take. I mean, I really wanted Karen to have him, but like, um, whatever. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's fan servicey the way I wanted the story to end when he says "Take me home." I wanted him to be the concierge.
Yeah.
When he said "Take me home," we know that they're going to rebuild and reconsecrate the New York Continental. I was hoping that our final scene would be of him with the dog at the front desk. But I'm okay with it being this way. And if they want to do it where he kind of rides off into the sunset and
Yeah.
you have the option to bring him back somewhere down the line because we didn't actually truly see him die, that's
Right.
okay too. I'll be okay with
Yeah.
that one.
Same. I agree. I'm okay with the one. I will say that would be fun if he became the concierge, but then if he does, he's also not really out. He's still part of this
But
life.
he is out. He realistically,
Mm.
if they've learned their lessons, he should never have to raise a gun again.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Well, yeah, that was fun. I'm actually looking forward to rewatching all of them. When this one comes out, I'll probably start that.
Oh, they're
Like
on
when it
TV
comes,
so much that I've seen parts of all of them.
I've only ever seen each of them once,
Okay. No, I've seen
so
by parts. I've seen each of them 5 or 10 times. So
but I do have them all, so that'll help. Anything else before we sign off?
No, I think I got most of what. Well, sorry. There's one other thing. Well, they're kind of tied together. I appreciate that every one of these movies has had some sort of like we have to chase John through the streets type of sequence.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the addition of the radio show where she's giving
That was
out the
fun.
code word information about
Yeah,
where he is and what the new price is and all that stuff. And she plays a new song that's thematically indicative of what's going on. That was
that
cool.
was fun. I like that.
And that led to what was one of the crowning achievements of the series, and also like something I was just like I was laughing at it and with it. The fight scene in Arc de Triomphe with cars was just
Yeah.
like the amount of people thrown into cars, hit by cars, that they're fighting around the cars, they're shooting each other and stabbing each other and fighting, and there's just
Chaos.
it was just I was laughing. I was each time I'd be like, oh, as someone gets lit up by a car or a bus or whatever. It was great. It was ridiculous.
So ridiculous. Awesome. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I'm glad it was fun to come back after an unintended hiatus with an actual relevant movie.
Yeah.
To the time. So that was great. That's all for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixandasix@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
And I'm tired.
Thanks for coming out.